All right, we'll call this start. Okay, so I'm still muted, so hang on one second. I'll be unmuted. That we're good. Is that better? All right, I'll call the Star City Council Budget Workshop to order. It's Tuesday, June 27th at 7:01 p.m. I'll have you guys please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, there we go. We're going to use the ones on the thing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, all right. I'm glad we headed up there. We have Councilman Wheelock do an invocation for us, please.
Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to meet tonight to discuss the budget. We're grateful for the opportunity to work to serve those that live within our boundaries. Father, please bless us that we'll be able to be good stewards of the resources that we are able to use. Please bless this meeting that we'll be able to openly discuss the things we need to, that we might have a successful resolution to each issue. We acknowledge thy hand in all things and say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We'll do roll call.
Wheelock.
Yeah.
Hershey.
Here.
Nielsen.
Yeah.
Salmonson.
Present.
Wow.
Yes, here's the
Chadwick.
presence. Everybody's going. All right. So we're going to start talking about our budget for this next upcoming year. Ryan's going to drive up there and we're going to try to stay in sync as best we can. On there. Right. We're going to do our best. I handed everybody out a little packet here. Email it out to you as well. And just so everybody's aware, just in our savings accounts, we have somewhere north of $12 million in our savings right now, which is good. Okay. When we're starting out with our budget, we're going to just go through the income side here real quick, and then we'll go into the expense side. I have Chief here, and we have some of our sheriff's office folks here as well to answer questions when we get to there. And then we have our PAB committee here, which is nice. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Yay. On the first part on our property taxes, we only levied last year 1.7 million. I kind of put the last 2 years budget where we're at year to date on collections, and then what we're proposing on the current budget. Okay, we levy 1.73 million towards property taxes off of a value of almost 3 billion in Star, which is very low, considering the size of our city. We are looking at doing the 8% increase, the max that we're allowed to take all through new construction. And we're still leaving stuff on the table, believe it or not, because of House Bill 389. And that amount is $1.869 million, just so everybody's aware. Okay.
We're leaving on the table?
No. Well, I'm telling you, yeah. So we're not doing a 3% increase at all, which goes to everybody. All 8% is coming out of the new construction bucket. For that, and we're leaving about 3.5% on the table out of new construction that we can't claim because of House Bill 389. On our sales tax revenue sharing, we are going to get, and this number comes from the AIC based off of their projections, approximately $1.567 million. That's a 15.67% increase. I remember they changed the formula about 3.5 years ago to base this on population, and as our population grows, we will get more in sales tax revenue sharing here in the city of Star. Okay. Liquor revenue sharing, we're actually going to drop that down to $122,000 from $129,000 because the state legislature did some changes. I believe this last legislative session that's going to impact the revenue sharing formula. I think some of it's going to like defense costs and stuff like that in the state that they're taking away from the counties. Yeah, defense and instead of public defenders, I guess, on their costs on that. So we do get franchise fees that we get 3% from power, 3% from cable, 3% from natural gas, and 8% from our waste management. The state statute allows you to charge up to 3% unless a previous agreement was in place, and we had a previous agreement in place for Republic Services of 8%. So we get eight. Oh, dang it. I locked myself out of my own worksheet here. And we're looking at about an 8% increase in those areas as well. And that's all that's a pass through all users. You see it on your bills. It says franchise fee, and that's what you pay that gets paid back to the cities or localities in the state of Idaho. You have a question?
I do.
Okay.
So over on the left in the description or in the item, it says 3%.
That's the 3% under power there.
Yeah.
That's what our franchise fees is what we get from them. 8% is what we're thinking that we're going to increase the total dollar amount by.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. You're welcome. Licensing, general licenses right now, dog licenses, about $3,500. Vendor licenses, $2,400. Alcohol and beverage licenses, we were figuring 7,170, but we can probably increase that because this year, since we just did the alcohol licenses, which were due by June 30th, we just signed them today. That number of 9,028 is what our current amount would be if all these entities continued. Plus, we'll have some new ones with beer and wine. Park reservations, about 10,000. Rentals, about 16,000.
Mayor Chadwick?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Yeah, turn your microphone
I
on.
have
Is
questions.
your microphone on?
It is.
Oh, there's a green. I didn't see
Okay.
the green.
So the rentals, is that like the like river?
River House rentals here in this location. And any future rentals down at the new rec area as well.
Okay, thank you.
Does that cover the baseball fields or no?
No,
It's
it's different. Fields reservations,
So it's a facility rental.
facility rentals. And I think we have to look at the numbers because if you look at what we've collected year to date is 32,000. I think some of that needs to go into the parks. I think it just got misclassified in there. So we need to take a look at that on there. Scholarships, these are monies we receive towards the Mayor's Youth Scholarship Funds. Hometown celebration, I know Dana asked me to adjust that down to 55, I believe, from 65. Is that correct? So we need to make an adjustment there down to 55 from 65. That's income that we receive from donations and whatnot for hometown celebration. You know, and the last several years, we've been very successful at receiving the funds from different organizations to help pay for that. But we need to make an adjustment there, just so you're aware already.
So, Mr. Mayor, are you making that adjustment on your end? You want
Yeah,
me to
I'll-
do it here?
No, I'll make it on my end so I
Okay.
can update it and send it out to everybody after we get done with it tonight. Grants, Parks and Pathway Grant. So I got a
Mayor Chadwick,
councilman.
I wonder if we should have him update that so that we have at least a working copy that we can
Oh, sure. Okay.
reference.
I'm
Unless
game
you
with
plan
that.
to share later.
You bet. So make that 55, Ryan. Yep, over in the green. Just put it in the green. That work there? Councilman Nielsen, is that good? Okay. Okay. Parks and Pathway grants, $50,000 grant for that. We're gonna look for some additional fiber grants, about $50,000 worth. Transportation and planning grant. So this is where I don't know if we need to put the Star Middle School Pathway grant that we were just awarded, which is $250,000 in the parks and in the Park and Pathway grant area or the transportation planning grant. It came from LTAC, which is a transportation component in the state of Idaho that gave us that grant, which was awesome. We will not be utilizing that grant until the next fiscal year. It won't be now. We don't get the funds until after October 1. That's why it's in here. Was that your question? See, I can read you guys on that. No, it's going to be in the future fiscal year. We were just awarded it. Yes. Yep.
So you could put that in the green or no?
No, it's in there. Under the transportation planning grant, that $300,000 includes $250,000 awarded for the Star Middle School Pathway. That's where I have it listed. We can shift it around to the Parks and Pathway grant if you would like, but it's in the grant section.
So is the grant specifically for planning?
No,
Is it for
it's for the
construction?
construction.
Okay, so
The
I,
planning, so we already got the planning grant
right.
that we've already executed, and we should be getting the final results of that shortly.
So I'm wondering if maybe we just need to create another new line item and just say, transportation, the Star Middle School pathway grant
And we could do that for certain.
and say 250.
What's your- Everybody on board with that, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ryan, will you make, okay, you already did it. Good. Thank you. Yeah, and then make the other one 50,000. And so we're gonna still pursue the $50,000 transportation grant to look at downtown parking for the city. There's some applications that we have put in the past, and they're recycling those applications. So we may get an opportunity to receive that grant because it was high up on that list.
When will we get a look at the overview of that pathway? Is there a drawing of it or?
There's not a drawing yet. Ryan Morgan, our city engineer, is working on we're gonna have to tile that section of that big drop. that's
Right.
There, right? We're doing a big tiling project on that, and he's working on the plans for that.
Some kind of a catch to keep it from washing out, or do we change that?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Where it drops, we'll have to have some kind of.
Yeah, it'll drop.
The accelerator.
Yeah, it'll drop and catch so it doesn't wash out down below. Right?
Yeah.
And then it'll be a lot of backfill in there, and then the pathway will go over the top of that with fencing and whatnot on there. So, but part of the original grant that we had was to work on that design, not that design, but the pathway design.
Right.
And since he's on staff with us, he's going to put that together. We can't put that out to bid and do the construction until water's off.
Right.
Right. And so that portion of that would have to be done by March 14th, I would guess.
Actually, the grant tells us we have to have it done by, I think, January 31st.
I know, but the doing the
Irrigation
irrigation season part of it, we have to, regardless, we have to have it
October
complete by
15.
March
Yeah.
before water's turned back on. Okay. Court fines, we got a lot of court fines that came in too, of $15,000 already this year. Nice job. Kidding. So we could increase that if you would like to match more of what it looks like this year. I don't think it's going to go down. I think it's going to stay relatively flat. For a long time, we've been under 7,000. This year, we're over 15.
I think we've calmed down our citizens will have
Well, we've calmed them down. We're
much
good.
cheaper.
Going to leave it at 7? I mean,
they're all
going over is not a big deal, right, on that, so, of the year.
chiefs on it.
Okay. So, building fees, the building permit fees, we have, if you notice, we kind of lowered this down a little bit. We have a calculator now that we put on our city website, because we have building permit fees and we have building plan review fees. The building plan review fee is a relatively new fee for us that is corrected. Well, it's not a new fee. We've always had the fee. We used to only charge, I think it was $85. Yeah. They used to be 85, right?
So plan review was previously was only charged on commercial projects.
Oh, right. Commercial project.
85 is an application fee,
Right.
and we're now charging a plan review fee on residential projects.
The Building Contractors Association has been saying for years to us, you don't have everything that you could be charging for, but they would never tell us what it is. And we discovered it. And so now we have that fee structure put in place on the plan reviews for residential component that helps us with the operations and stuff of that department over there. Every other entity in this valley charges that same fee. And basically, with our calculator, if you look, so we're basing it off of 500 permits. When you see the numbers off, oh, you can't see those numbers on the right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Woohoo!
So that 2,200 and 100 square foot, you see that up there on line item 31 there? That's basically a 2,000 square foot house with a 200 square foot garage with a 100 square foot outdoor patio. That's just an average of what we have. So that number could go higher, it could go lower. We went with 2,000 because the housing sizes are getting a little bit smaller while people are adjusting to the interest rates. that we have versus what we had before. So we'll be at $1 million in building permit fees. Plan review fees would be about $758,000. The electrical, plumbing, and mechanical, don't change them from year to year because those are a little bit harder to figure out. It's based a little differently. And then the reinspection fees of about $5,000. So we're basing everything on 500 permits again this year. We're on track to hit just over 500 permits this year, this fiscal year, which our fiscal year, for everybody that doesn't understand, October 1 to September 30th. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, just real quick, do you want to, I don't know if everybody's seen that. Do you want to take a second? Do you want me to show that calculator or do you want?
Sure.
me to
Yeah,
show
pull it up.
everybody where
Let's,
It's at.
I think it'd be good for them to see it.
We will do that.
Why does ACHD have only 450 permits and the rest have 500?
Because we got we're splitting our 500 permits between Ada and Canyon County. So ACHD is on the Ada County side only, and Canyon Highway District 4 would be 50 permits on their side. Yeah.
It's loading, I promise.
So here's the calculator right here. And if you see,
Load up
so that's
for a
on
second.
2000, and basically our calculator puts in all of our, it has our, I think our police mitigation, is it in there
It
on the
is
bottom?
down here on the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll
so
see
we
our
have-
impact fees.
Public safety mitigation fees, which are police and fire. We have our Star and Park impact fees, Star Fire impact fees. And then if you're in Ada or Canyon County, you put in your impact fee for those counties. You can see Canyon Highway District 4 has a higher impact fee, right? So change that, Ryan, to like a 2,500 square foot house.
Yep.
300 square foot garage.
100.
Yeah.
Okay. Give them a nice patio.
Sure.
Okay.
And then go down there and make that in Canyon County.
And so what it does is it, by taking the square feet, this is the cost per square foot of those areas, which this gives us the value of the residents. And all of our permits are based off of value. And so you come down here on the building, this is the review fee, which is based upon the value, which works out to be roughly in the neighborhood of about 65% of the permit fee is what the plan review fee is. And then if we go to Canyon County, you said?
Yeah.
This total permit with plan review is $14,741.
With all the impact fees and mitigation fees that we have in place. Now, all those numbers that are up there on that are all standards established by the building code nationally. So it's not a number that we came up with.
These numbers.
Yeah, those numbers there, that 148.60, and then the figures in the background, the permit and plan review fee. So this is not a City of Star coming up with a number. This is a international or nationally recognized number.
Correct.
That is utilized. Okay. You have a question, Mr. Kevin? I know you were looking. No? Okay. All right. Okay. Park impact fees based on 500 permits and $2,050 per park impact fee. ACHD, this comes back to answer your question, Mr. Wheelock, 450 permits at the 3493. That 3493 is today's number. We do not know what the new impact fee is going to be come October 1. So it could be a little bit higher. It could be a little bit lower. Last year, we established a number and they came back and lowered their impact fee for the ACHD, which blew me away with all the work that we needed to have done. So that'll change. Canyon Highway District 4 is pretty set on their impact fee at that 50/50. That's not changing. I think they're going to do this next fiscal year a review of their impact fees.
Do we have a projection? You think the 450 and 50 is a good split at the county line?
It is a good split with the approved parcels that we have on each side. Yeah. Yep.
Is that holding as of this year also?
Yes,
Same ratio?
currently. Now, I will tell you what's interesting is some of the values on the Canyon County side, the housing prices are higher than the Ada County side. So it's going to be interesting to see when Star River, not River Ranch, what's the one called the Boise Hunter
Boise
Homes
Hunter.
opens up
River
for
Park.
sale.
Park.
Oh, River Park, what those end up being down in that area.
But there's also been, if you've watched the permits in those emails that we get with the analytics, the amount of permits drawn in Canyon County are significantly lower than Ada counties.
Currently,
Currently, that's what I'm saying.
but we have preliminary plats that have yet to be, or the final plats to yet to be signed that are ready to be signed. Once we get some stuff worked out, and then those houses will start being built and sold pretty quick on there.
So last year we budgeted for 252,000
On which
like-
one?
on the,
CHD4?
yeah,
Yeah, and
and we're currently.
well, because we
only
we
at
had a FUBAR. You know what that is, right? At the very beginning of the fiscal year.
Is that a technical budget term?
That is a technical budget term from the city of Star. But we had an error, I think it was 3 or 4 months, where we failed to collect the impact fees for Canyon Highway District 4. And so those numbers are going to be way lower than anywhere else on there. And there was no way for us to go back and collect these from homeowners already that were in there.
How's the county feel about that?
They didn't like that.
Really?
It's pretty clear. We had a pretty good conversation about that. However, it's not happening.
Was it loud and,
Yeah, it's pretty loud. Yeah. But we fixed that problem and it won't be that way any longer.
And
Zoning,
then- Sorry, one more question. So with the proportionate share, so we have received significantly more than what we've budgeted for. And so what's the reason for that?
because that is so up in the, it's all based on final plats being submitted and signed. We won't ever know. It all could come to a standstill on that where they're not, we have all these approved preliminary plats. We collect them at final plat stage for the whole.
So that's actually cash collected.
That's cash collected.
Wow.
Yeah.
construction never stops.
It never stops, but it slows down, right? The existing stock of being able to build houses won't, it's, the
I was
ITD
here in
proportionate share is only at the final plat stage. We don't get that at the permit stage. We get it beforehand on there, right?
And the other ones are like during the preliminary plat?
Which ones? The park impact fees and stuff?
Yeah,
No, those are
They're
at
all
permits. They're all at the
timed.
permit stage when the house is being built.
okay.
So we got the preliminary plat that we approve in council meeting, then you have a final plat, once they get it constructed and everything's been verified, that gets approved in council. At that time of final plat is when they can start building houses. They can't build until that final plat gets signed by all the different agencies on there.
So does the extra 800,000 go just to our savings account?
It goes in our savings account, which is being utilized right now on the Highway 44 widening. So it's going to pay for that widening that we have going on right now, down on the other side of town. Yeah. But until such time that it gets spent, it would stay in the savings account, in our savings account. Yeah. Okay, zoning admin fees, $120,000. We're starting to see a little bit of a slowdown. We had 154,000 collected last year. This is all of the different applications and whatnot that come through Sean and Ryan in our planning and zoning department. Whether it's a variance request, opening development agreement, an annexation, rezone, things like that. Those are those fees that are associated in there. And then bonding. Bonding is a very interesting deal. If on a final plat, if they're unable to get their landscaping, I think it's landscaping, lights, and
It's landscaping, perimeter fencing, pressurized irrigation, and streetlights.
street lights. If they run into weather delays, like in the winter, be able to get that stuff done, they could bond for it. I think it's 150% of what the cost of that, whether it's a cash in hand or an actual bond certificate. And so that is all up in there as well with the preliminary or with the final plats on there. But in order for them to get those signed, they have to have a bond in place or the stuff done on that project. Because you're going to see here shortly, and when we go to expenses, when we give the bonds back, we have $1 billion that we've given back in bonds that we were sitting on until the projects got completed. Okay. Recreation on our sports side, 97,800. There is a whole slew of sports to get to pay this summer, this fall. So you'll see that number come up quite a bit. Classes and activities, we're up to 113,700. This is based on all those classes that we've added with Annie's stuff at the new rec center as well. And then the Ion grant, we need to add, when's the second half of that Ion grant come in? Is Annie here?
It's April.
Next April? Okay,
Yes.
so we need to add in, she was able to receive an $80,000 plus grant for our recreation programming. So we need to add in a $40,000 figure, that 40, it's the same number, right? The $40,027.66 into this for the Ion grant.
So where do you want that added,
In the
Mr.
green.
Mayor? In the green, same number?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I just want to put in where I made the changes. Because we will put it in the white. You'll get an updated clean one there, Kevin. I'm just showing where we made the changes on there. Does that work?
Putting it right.
Why don't you put it and in the green? Because then we can actually see totals at the end.
Then you need to go up above and fix the one that's up above.
Which one am I fixing? Sorry.
They'll put it back there in the green also. So we can say that that we made that change.
Gotcha.
That's what you're saying, right,
The
Kevin?
change.
Yeah.
And then the other one we did change here. Oh, make that 55.
Make it 55.
Oh, not that much. Okay.
And then did we do
The
any
party.
others or was that it?
And then where did the other one go?
Well,
Do you want me to put that in the green too? Maybe?
yeah, just put it right there.
Okay.
For now. Okay.
Okay, good enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Interest revenue, we can adjust. Let me ask Jacob a question on this one. Do we foresee our interest revenue being like this again in the future? Okay, so we need to make an adjustment on this one as well. For years, we didn't get much interest, but when everything changed, our interest revenue shot up to 103,000 this year, and that's planned. Jacob's done a pretty good job of shifting it back and forth between the local government investment pool when things are high and low and getting the most value for us out of that. So we were at 103,000 that we collected. So I think we need to adjust that at least to 100,000 on there for interest revenue.
It's 516% more.
I know it's a lot.
we
It's
budgeted
pretty cool.
for, So
So you're gonna fix that one, Ryan?
So
please?
just waiting for discussion. So make that 100,000.
Yeah, are you good with that, everybody? Yes.
And do you want me to put 100 here or 80 since you had 20 originally?
Well, we've got that all screwed up on that green side that we can, it doesn't matter right now.
So what would
So just put 100,000 to keep
100.
consistent with what we did on the other side. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Donations, various donations for various causes. Let's leave it at 9,000. Miscellaneous. We've always just put a hold place in there of $1,000 on miscellaneous for things that don't fit in any other category.
89,000 miscellaneous,
We have 89,000 in miscellaneous
a
income.
lot of miscellaneous.
yeah,
Passport issuances. We are anticipating this full year, this next year, to have $109,000 worth of passport income coming in and $25,000 worth of passport pictures because we offer the full service. That's a new item for us. You got it, Kevin?
It's off topic, but remind me, let's talk about passport pictures sometime.
Was yours bad?
Well, that's beside the question.
Oh, we just got to take the shine off the forehead and you'll be good.
Just some feedback I've received is that people would like to bring their own passport photo rather
They
than.
can. That's an option.
So what I heard was that they were required to
Well,
use
in
our
order for us to
service.
submit them at the time, they're going to have their passport pictures either with them ahead of time.
Yep.
Or get the picture taken in order for us to mail them off.
That's a good clarification because that's not what they came away understanding.
Okay.
So maybe an opportunity.
Okay. Very good. Where are we at now? Oh, police mitigation fees, $560,000 and fire mitigation fees of $600,000. And that's all again based off of 500 permits on there. And that's going to help us fund our police and our fire personnel. Transfer from the general funds at the time, we're going to have to make some adjustments on this. So we'll play with that. But then also the transfer from park funds of $740,000 to help fund our park projects. So we'll have to play with that a little bit here tonight. Okay. Any questions?
Which way are we moving them?
Well, it depends on what happens on the expense side when we get done. Because we're gonna have to balance out our, we have our income and our and expenses have to equal, right? And the park impact fees that we pull out of what we've already collected previously would go into that to help balance out what our expenses end up being after our discussions tonight on that. And then anything else out of the general fund on there. Based on what we had before, we were actually about $1.2 million lower than last year's budget, total budget. On there, right now, you're at 1 million lower based on what we've been increasing there for revenues.
So Mayor Chadwick,
Yep.
for the transfers, have we made any transfers to
Sorry.
date?
Say it again.
Have we made any transfers to date?
Yeah, we pull money in. It's not the same. It doesn't show like that. It just comes out of the pool to help cover the cost of the park stuff that we've done.
So like that year to date
There won't be a
column,
year-to-date number in
so
there.
there's not going to be anything in there.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Not right now.
Well, later
Huh?
in our final budget,
Yeah, you'll have it.
we'll have that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What are you doing? What's Kevin doing? Or Kevin doing?
Kevin.
It's in,
Man is just here.
not an and. Did you get it figured?
Mayor just made it so that the top columns stay there and the left column, so we can see the category
Perfect.
stays there as we move around.
Split screen. Okay. Go on to your expense side. Any further questions on the income side? So on the expense side, we.
There you go. That was helpful.
Cool. Much better. Thought we had Sean up there driving, so.
Sorry, that's not on record. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the feedback.
We'll go on to the expense side. First part is executive mayor council. Last year, we had this all broken out by individual. We're just doing it as a combined, as a suggestion from our treasurer. So our payroll is still the same. Mayors and councils payroll can only change in election years, and we're not suggesting to make any increases to anybody this year on the mayor and council. Then we have the FICA and Medicare for the total group, workman's comp, kind of have it broken down on the side for you. And then our public retirement and our health insurance on there. Clerks and treasurer's office, now you'll see that we have, I believe it's a 5% increase for payroll for everybody. And with all the FICA, workman's comp, public retirement, and health insurance costs on there. Planning and zoning and building department includes it's the same percentages on the right-hand side, but it includes our 2 engineers in the planning and zoning department. The half that we pay for Ryan Morgan, the half we pay for Tim Clark with Star Sewer and Water. So we don't have to pay their FICA, workman's comp, public retirement, all that in there. That's all covered by our total amount. So we can't break that out on that side. So that percentage is going to look a little different there. Sports and recreation, the Annie, Kim, and Ron show over there on that one. And then we have the building. Yes, sir.
Can we, in each department, can we break that down? Not necessarily break it down by employee, but maybe the number of employees?
I'll put in there the number you have. Yeah.
So there's some idea of what that's covering.
I can do that. Yeah, total. Sure. You make a note on that for me, Ryan? Just off to the side in the white. Put the total number of employees by.
Yeah,
Right.
sports and rec, 4 employees, whatever.
Yep.
So that we know what that $400,000 is covering.
Okay. You got that? Okay. Buildings, grounds, and maintenance. we'll do the same thing there with that one. We will, we do have some seasonal guys that just started with us here after school got out, so we don't have totals for those yet. Jennifer, just so you're aware. You see that we have 20,000 in there because we have those kids that we hired during the summer to help us with the parks.
Maybe we break those out as seasonal employees
Well, the seasonal is all gonna, yeah, so
so that it doesn't look like there's 12 employees making
Yeah.
100,000.
well, they have a separate line item. It says seasonal on there, so it's a separate line item.
So Mayor Chadwick, just regarding the process for tonight, like, is this the time if we wanted to talk about like if extra staff is needed?
yeah.
Or wait until you go through the whole
No,
thing?
tell me, if we go to it, just let's do it now.
Okay, well,
So tell me.
it seems like, with our park system growing, that we're gonna need more park staff. And I don't know if that would mean, a full-time employee or seasonal. Maybe that would be a question for,
So based on my conversations with Bob, we can get all the stuff done with what we have currently, with the staff we have. The challenge we have is facility maintenance, the Maria project. We need to hire another janitor person because we brought on the police department, the rec center over there. It's making it almost impossible for Maria to get to every place all week long.
so even with the new River House here in River,
Well,
all
okay,
that
let's-
property.
Actually, you're right. We do need to add staff. We need to fix that. We need to add a staff member for that because I forgot about it. I don't know how I could forget about it. I'm at that thing all the time. But we do need to add a parks maintenance person for that 60 acres. Because it's going to take one person to maintain that thing, at least by itself.
Right, and then we also have, with the new splash pad, I think that what we have currently, they may be able to manage the splash pad, the playground, what we've recently
Right.
installed, but it seems like a stretch for the Heron River
So-
Regional Park area.
Well, you're right. And you're not wrong at all on that. And I think we need to add, it's up to you guys, one or two. I mean, I think one would suffice for now and see where we're at with what we have.
Yeah, let's add one and then bump up the seasonal as well.
Okay. And then also add, Ryan, would you put up on that for me? On the white, on the right, just add one parks maintenance. Are you good with that? I mean,
I'm wondering if we should ask Bob
I've
before
had,
we
I've had the conversation.
arbitrarily.
Well, we'll put these in and I'll talk to him between now and the next thing so we can dial that in, right?
Yeah.
But talking with Bob, his biggest concern was the facility inside janitorial stuff more than the park stuff.
Yeah, but if we're adding people because we feel like it is, they may be just sitting down there playing Angry Birds.
I don't know if it
Just saying,
still plays that
let's
game, but
let Bob run his department, but
no,
tell him we're there to help.
and you're right. And I don't know
We don't-
if
we don't-
Bob's fully aware that park's coming online either. So we'll put it in here and I'll talk to Bob about it. Will that work?
That's all I'm saying. Yeah,
And then
we don't want
increase,
to run Bob's department for him.
and then Brian, increase seasonal. Yeah. And let me work with Bob on that.
Yeah.
Because that'll change all those numbers on there too, on the FICA and all that good stuff. That employee cost, so are you good now? Jennifer, do you have any others?
Yeah, no, that's good. I did notice that workman's comp was significantly down, the total for the budget versus what we budgeted for last year.
Because we got a good number on what each employee costs on workman's comp per
Okay.
year.
Okay. That's all I had.
You guys have anything else for the employee side?
Oh, so we do have some, like contractors professional, like Dana. Where does she fit? Her wage, or salary?
It should go up for me. Yeah. I'll need to double check my number, but it may have fallen into that clerk's treasurer office piece. So right off to the right of that, Ryan, to follow up with
Number of employees.
PIO. The what?
So the number of employees would reflect in
The
there.
number of employees would reflect what it is.
Mayor Chadwick,
Yes, sir.
so one of the Clerks, treasurers. What plans can we make to let Jacob be the clerk and hire a treasurer, or vice versa?
We can do that too. I mean, is it necessary to do? Do you think it needs to be broken out right now?
Well, we get advice from our auditors on a pretty consistent basis that those two jobs should be separate. And I know traditionally they've been one and the same.
Yeah.
It feels to me like we're getting to the point, especially with the number of applications that we have. I would imagine, and Jacob, you can speak for yourself, but I would imagine that keeps you pretty busy. So wearing both of those hats, number one, I don't know that it really creates a conflict, but it can create the appearance of one. Then also, I think there's enough work there.
So I'm gonna write it up because I want to do some research on that and get
Yeah.
back to you on that. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So up there, Ryan, on the clerk treasurer office on the white line, just put in there, look at separating. Clerks and treasurer, the city clerk, city treasurer position. I put city and with that. Okay. Very good. Anything else?
Do we want to talk about the planning and zoning personnel and maybe looking to take that in-house at some point?
Yeah, when we get down to that section, we'll talk about that. Yeah. So let's scroll down, Ryan. So those employees' costs right there are all broken out up above. That's why there's nothing there. HR adjustments. If you guys want additional HR adjustments, we could put it in there. That's for additional raises and whatnot that we may need to do on there. We didn't do a whole lot of changes based off of what we had last year in the budget. Training. There's lots of training and I have staff asking for additional training, which is good. Makes me happy that they want to improve their jobs. And so we increased that budget for training and the travel and per diem. We're going to try to get more localized training on there.
I would raise that. I mean, if you have to get a ticket to anywhere, it costs.
Well, you're the guy that flies everywhere.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying I would raise that.
What do you want to raise it?
Well, when I went out to Burbank, and I know California's expensive, but for 3 days, the total ticket, and I travel as cheap as possible, came out to $1,450.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that was everything.
Yeah.
I mean, Mayor, you said you want to focus on localized.
There's localized training, but there's some national trainings that like the clerk's office will go to.
Yeah, so that was my question. What sort of national trainings are you looking at?
It'd be
know, the
like the
one-
National Clerks Association, so like I'm on the Compass board, but they pay for mine, so I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Compass does that. And then I know the Parks and Recs folks want to do some travel training to some of these national conventions to look at different options too. So, I mean, I guess, what's your thoughts, David?
Just double it.
Okay.
seriously.
That's what I was
That's what I was
thinking.
thinking.
So put it at 10,000, Ryan, on travel. On the travel.
Training or
per
travel?
diem.
Okay. So make it.
Are
10.
both of them. Both of them.
Well, sometimes conventions aren't training, but they're informational and
But they're informational and provide breakout groups and all that kind of stuff.
relationships and
Relationships, right.
recruiting.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so the banks, so we good on that one for now? Yeah. Bank service charges, it is about, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna go over $500, are we? No. Grant expenses, that just includes our, we started that city tree grant program this year of 30,000. And then we have that 250,000 for the pathway to the middle school right now.
What does the tree,
The tree grant,
the tree grant entail?
that people applying, remember we put 30,000 out there for people to, for HOAs to go out there and get more trees for their community or for their associations to plant in their neighborhoods.
How do they get?
We, once a year, well, this year we started it late, but I think we wanted to start it in January. Is that what we
I
decided?
think we were gonna do another, like a fall
A fall one.
grant.
To provide opportunities to provide more trees and stuff in our community. Utilizing some of some of the thought process was utilizing some of the extra fees that we've collected to give back into the community to provide more tree canopies, right? Here for our city of Star.
And it's not just for HOAs, it's for any
Businesses,
resident,
resident.
as long as the
But it's got to be
Trees and-
visible.
public view.
Yeah, you can't put
Right.
the tree in your backyard.
Right. Well,
Well,
I've got- I've got a lot- I've
that
got a
could be
lot of
determined
backyard.
during the grant process. Because they're gonna have to provide locations and stuff like that.
I've got a lot of backyard.
Tree removals,
No, tree planting.
tree planting.
How's it? I mean, do they pay 50% and we pay 50%? How's that work?
yes, there is a match, and their match we are just paying for the tree, but they have to show how they're going to care for it and like the expense, like if there's any expense for moving their, irrigate, their water, digging, whatever, if they have any expenses, they can match it with what ours is.
So they got skin in the game.
But I believe it's a 50%.
That's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yes, they have skin in the game by, and there's a labor figure.
Yeah.
Labor is also included in there, which there's a national internet, a number nationally that we utilize per hour for that. And then there is, like she was saying, irrigation issues.
Yeah, you can. go
Oh yeah, it is found online.
And,
Right.
and look at all the details.
Thank you.
Yep. City attorney,
I'm sorry, Mayor Chadwick. So going back to that same number though, what was the 200,000
the
250
250 was for that pathway,
for the construction?
for the grant expense for that pathway. City attorney, Chris is not increasing his fees this year, so he's staying at 48,000. Outside legal fees, obviously our 122,000 was a result of the lawsuit with Middleton. We don't have any lawsuits on the horizon. So we'll just put a whole number of 20,000 on there. That was an unnecessary expense, though I'll just tell you, they spent over $1 million. And the city of Middleton did for losing a case like that. So. Ada County Prosecutor's Office came in. We had an increase because we didn't get a total from them last year of 32,445, but Miss Jan and staff came in and their total this year is actually 31,561 for that. So that went down just a little bit. Kenny County Prosecuting Attorney's Office is staying the same on there. And then student scholarships, I'm anticipating us increasing that to about 30,000 this year based on the applicants and stuff that we have. The supplies, everything is going up just a hair. So we just kind of did some increases there. We don't have to do notary bonds because they're actually covered by ICRAMP. And we're going to get rid of our safety deposit box. It's not necessary to have. So we're getting rid of those items there. Our hometown celebration, 45,000 expense across the way. It may change a little bit depending on how much we raise. Miscellaneous events at 16,000 plus police fishing rodeo, $7,500 for us to, this is what we were talking about earlier.
That's the restock of the pond.
That is bringing in lunkers for kids to catch, right? Because they're still catching them. I saw someone post something about a golden trout they just caught. So it survived over a month, which is great. And pretty good size one. Our insurance to ICRIMP is going up quite a bit. This increase, we got that from the letter from ICRIMP, and that's our insurance. What's ICRIMP stand for? Idaho Yeah. Did you hear that? Idaho County Cities Risk Management Program is our insurance for the city. Our subscription and fees. Did you have a question there, Kevin?
Yeah, do we know the purpose of them raising that rate? Did our risk rating increase?
Well, it's a statewide thing. Yeah. Yeah, I do have a letter. I'll get you the letter so you can read the letter on that. Would you write next to that one, Ryan, that to get him a letter? Please. What's that? Well, I'll just send to council and I'll send you guys the letter for that. Subscription and fees, we have archive social, which everything we have has to be archived. Your guys' email, social media, right? Social media, and Dana can explain our archiving.
It's not for emails, it's just for our social media.
All social media. That's it? Social media? Okay. That's to archive all of our social media stuff on there. Muni Web changed. That went up here. Everything's gone up a little bit if you look at this. Mount Alarm. Our Office 365 subscription went up. Our Dude Solutions, SmartGov, all paid Bluebeam connector. It's all tied into our building department. Went up quite a bit. Our Docutopia, Trino, hopefully we'll have this all available online very soon. Is there, our elevator contract doubled. The reason it doubled is this year we have the deep inspection. I think it's the 5-year inspection. Huh? Oh, was that today? Yeah, so we had oh no, that was the basic inspection today. Next year will be the 5-year inspection on that one. That's what Bob was telling me. That's why it's doubled. It's a little more intense. We're not having to use Terminex anymore. They got some other products that they're using. Xerox, Western Heating went down quite a bit. We changed from Air Care and we get much better service for a lot less price. You like that? That's good. Huh? Bob's good at that. Yeah. We do not have costs with Neuralink. We found out. We thought we were paying for extra service, but what we did, Kevin, on here, there's no extra subscription fees for them. Our Zoom licensing is about the same. We do have some miscellaneous software that we utilize. Data backups. Oh yeah, because we do back up everything up here in City Hall upstairs. I'm going to tell you about what we're doing with our IT here pretty quick, and we're going to get I think we're going to get a ton of cost savings this year. And we have Black Mountain software and our time card app our time clock app that all the employees utilize for clocking in and whatnot is on there as well. Keller Associates, obviously, we were able to still.
Mr. Mayor, just real quick.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add on the line 70 there, Dude Solutions, SmartGov, all paid Bluebeam. The increase there, we've added functionality. So we will very soon, we're probably going to open it up within the next 10 days. We will be accepting all of our building applications 100% online. And that is what the increase there is, the added functionality. So they haven't just arbitrarily raised their rates on us. We've added functionality there that will make us more efficient in the building department.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful. Because everything will be electronic and we can store it electronically as well versus having all the paper.
With the time clock app, do your employees track by punching in or whatever?
Mhm.
Does that allow
Their
you
phones,
with their phones, but does that allow you to track them while they're on the clock?
like their location?
Yeah.
I don't think we're tracking
Not,
locations.
not exactly, but it can. There is that functionality there that we
I
just
mean,
don't
with,
use.
with employees all over, it may not be a bad idea to know where they're at.
I'm thinking that app might change.
Cemetery just went to that. It's very helpful.
Oh, see which grave they're at. There's not a whole lot of space.
Saxton, yeah. It just, yeah. Well played. But there's enough parks in different locations that it may help Bob
Locate
know
them.
where his people are.
No, and we'll look at that functionality, but we're going to look at something else with this IT guy that we have too. that we'll talk about here in a minute as well. But it's, would you put that on there, Ryan, on the right to that? Yeah, time card or employee track,
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman.
one thing to consider on that is if employees are using their personal cell phones, they have the right to not be tracked. And so coinciding with us wanting to track would probably also require we provide a device.
Okay. All right, take a look at all that too. Yeah. Actually, I do know Bob has their own little handheld devices that they take with them already. It's not off of their phone. Yeah.
Just so they know where they're at and if they need
Right.
help or whatever in case there's an issue.
Keller Associates, scroll down there, Ryan. This is just a filler in case we need to utilize them for overflow stuff. We haven't said anything to them this year. You used to remember that number used to be $400,000 or $500,000 every year. Oh, well, you weren't here when that
I'm
happened.
new.
You're new to that. But Ryan Morgan used to work for Keller, was going to go to Canyon County, and Hank and I were able to poach him from Canyon County before he even started. So that was a beautiful thing. So we're saving money there as well. Transportation, we have not used Dave Splits for a long time on any transportation items. So we're just going to remove that one off of our budget line item. If we ever need to get a transportation consultant in here, we'll have to come to the council and just ask you for that at that point. You what? Yeah, it's easy. Audits, our audit costs going up just a little bit. It'll be about 8,000 this year. These are all the professional dues that we are responsible for. Every one of those is based off of, not every one of them, but the majority of those is based off of our population numbers that the Compass provides yearly. And so we see an increase in most of those, like the Ada County Emergency Management, Association of Cities a little bit, Boise Valley Economic Partnership, our Compass dues, all Valley Regional Transit, Treasure Valley Partnership, all that kind of stuff on there. So you're aware. You have a question on that one?
I'm looking ahead.
You're looking ahead. Okay, good. And then some of those are some of the Parks and Rec and what Bob does. Bob has to be certified. Now that we have all this playground equipment, we have to be certified for inspections and whatnot on there. That's a requirement. So Bob is part of that certification process for that. Now I can't see him getting in one of those tubes, so he may have to send somebody else in one of those tubes, right?
Does that certification cover the playhouse or we have to do that independently?
That's different. That's that inspection would be different on there. Yeah. It's all that plastic equipment and stuff that you see with to make sure we don't have any fractures, cracks, things like that in the equipment.
When it gets fractured, just send it across the street to my park.
That's right. We'll just come to your house.
It's where the
Play.
school playground is. It's no longer safe.
No longer safe. Public relations, we increased that with all the different things that we do here as a city. Transportation. Okay, so here's the committee. So we have 2,000 of
That
transportation.
was the question I had. 5 to 15,000. Where's that? What's that doing?
Well, it's the different. Let me get back to you on that. Let me come back to you on that one. So let me think about how I'm going to say that to you. Is that fair enough?
I'm in no hurry.
Okay, good.
I'm here all
Right.
night.
Choose my words wisely. I might be playing in this playground when we're done. I don't know. The committee side of it, the transportation committee, they haven't spent any money at all as far as the committee goes. So we'll just leave that at a flat 2,000. The beautification of pathways committee had I can't remember how much it was, Jennifer. Do you have all that info? Do you want them to talk about it? Because when you and I sat down and talked, we narrowed it down to 19,000 based on.
I can go ahead and present it. I put a quick summary together about
Okay.
it. So that 19,000 includes various events that the committee does, and the total for that is 2,800. They would like to get a license for Sign Up Genius to help with the volunteer sign up process. So I don't know if that it's $150 and maybe the city already has one. So there's that item. And then they have a few different projects that they're going to work on. One is there's those flower boxes that are going to be installed down at the River House, and they would like to purchase I can't remember the name of the tulips.
Oh, the tulips
From-
for in memory of the one of the U
Yes.
of I
Yes.
students that was murdered
Yep.
up there. His family's a tulip farmers, and they created a tulip in his memory and stuff. So
Yep. So they,
just some of those. put them
Yep.
out there.
and then they also would like-
Ethan, is that right?
I think so. Ethan
Yeah.
Smile.
Ethan
tulip,
Smile
yeah.
is what it's called.
And then another project, they found some really cool solar lights to string along out here in front of City Hall. And then going to do the traffic box wrap. And then mural, some star benches. So the total for those projects are $14,650. And then operational, just just like workshop, different things that they may need, some minor funds for. And so that equals 19,000.
So wasn't one of those also the book drop?
Yeah. So
It's a wrap
Yes.
on the book drop.
yeah, and so the 4,000, it is for committee, like identified it specifically as the book drop. We still need to work with the library though to make sure that we would like to have them match at least a portion of the
But that's in that 19,000, right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
4,000, right. But we are going to have we've just put out a call for artists to wrap the 3 boxes. And we are looking for sponsors for those. But if we don't get, all the sponsors, we may end up, I was thinking we may end up using, some of that money from the book drop. If
So these last two that we did last year were all paid for by sponsors.
yes, yes.
So they didn't have to take that out of their budget this last year.
Right.
'Cause they did get sponsorships for it.
So hopefully we will have sponsors again. The total would be around 3,500 that we'd be looking for sponsors. And if we don't get that, then, we either can't do the project or, we could not do the library book wrap and still do the traffic lights. So that's why we have a proposed budget of 19,000.
Any questions?
Ma-
Nelson?
Can I ask the committee? We have a couple of people here. If they wanted to add
Sure.
anything,
So
come on
hang
up.
on, hang on. No, I got a microphone.
Please introduce yourself.
Thank you.
That
My name
would've
is Sue Spear. I'm on the Parks, Arts and Beautification Committee. I spoke with Mary Adlington of the Star Library actually this morning. She was asking about the book drop project. When we had researched the traffic box art, I had actually requested a quote of the book drop box also. With a $100 artist stipend, it would be about $2,000. So a little bit cheaper than what I think we were initially thinking. I did ask Mary whether she would be able to contribute any of those funds, either from the library or the Friends of the Library. I haven't heard back from her yet, but I asked her this morning. And I did send her information about an Arts Idaho grant opportunity that was a 50-50 match for not-for-profit organizations that's offered quarterly, and it's up to $1,100. So if they were able to contribute $1,100 and they were successful on that grant, that would actually cover for the entire cost of the book drop box. So that was at least one opportunity that I think she was going to look into. She said she was going to talk to her director and see if she could apply for that.
Okay.
There are some programs I don't think you mentioned, Jennifer. I was trying to keep up with you, but so if you did mention them, I apologize. But we were also looking at doing a Veterans Banner program, be self-funding as well. was on our topic of activities. And then another item that we had talked about was doing a self-funding memorial bench program. Those were some other things. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't, since they're self-funding, it doesn't impact the dollars we're looking at for, but just wanted to make you aware of those things that we are involved in as our Parks and Arts and Beautification Committee. I know that we've been asked to do some more volunteer things as well. The city has come forth and give us some ideas on that. So just appreciate all being included in the budget and being the opportunity to come and listen to your budget overall. I know we're just a small.
The better presentation will be on August 1st, just so you're aware.
The what presentation?
An actual more in-depth, thorough presentation on August 1st,
Oh,
just so you're aware.
That's after he chooses his words.
That's where I chooses my words wisely.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman?
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for that extra detail. Appreciate that you come with a budget request and a plan for what to do. And just always impressed with what the Parks and Beautification Committee comes up with. So I did have a question as far as the boxes go. I know those were originally planned to be along a fence line before we purchased the property that fence now borders. So what can you talk a little bit about what the plan is now what are we doing there?
I sure can, but so I believe that that property will be vacated in August. And so the mayor and Bob and the committee have met, and we're talking about still leaving them in that same area, but the fence will be relocated to the north of that new property. And then so that fence will be taken out. And so those boxes are going to be like a natural separation between the new parking lot area and the driveway that's there now.
And
so we're hoping that that will be done in the fall. We did receive some grant money, and we did approve, the council did approve, to purchase and install those those planter boxes before the end of this fiscal year. So I know like the committee and we need to work on getting all the stuff purchased by the end of the year. And then it'll be, it may not be installed until, September, October.
Yeah, and we're gonna, I think on July 18th, Jacob doesn't know this yet, but I'm gonna tell you now, but well, he might know because we talked about it, but that trailer that's down there, we're gonna surplus it. So we can get it moved and out of there. And then we can start doing some of these moves that we need to get done before we start working on the.
So it sounds like that expense is in this year's budget. I may not have understood your reference to those planters as you talked about the 19,000.
Oh, so they just want to buy some tulip bulbs to put into those boxes next year.
Ethan Smile.
Yep.
That's what it is. Yeah. And there's actually, there's actually a drawing right here that we'll talk about here as we get down that kind of shows that a little bit that we're going to talk about. So, and I skipped the IT thing, so we'll come back to that here in just a minute.
And Mayor Chadwick,
Yeah.
I'll just add, thank you, Arlene, for mentioning those other projects that
Yes.
I'm going to bring up. The Park Art and Beautification Committee, they're working hard on a variety of projects and try really hard, to, do projects that are self-funding. So I didn't mention those earlier, but because we don't need to include that number here. Thank you for coming tonight.
you're welcome.
Yeah. So, Mr. Mayor, I just want to add to that, if I may. So the committee's great, and they are very active. And just so the council knows, I'm the new liaison for the staff for this committee. And so the purpose or my guidance to them and really my direction is that they really need to find ways to get these items funded. That the purpose of the committee is to accomplish things that staff does not necessarily have the time to do and that the city doesn't necessarily have the budget to do. And so it's not necessarily to come forward with projects to have the city write a check for, and then we pay somebody to do, but to actually involve the community in these projects. And so they've trimmed their budget down significantly from the initial request that it was going to be. And I think that will continue to be the direction that we take so that we can, so that these budget numbers continue to stay. Because I think if you look back at previous budgets, this committee hasn't had one and it's continued to grow. And so that's the direction we're going. And one example, Jennifer was here over the weekend and her and Chris, a member of the committee, hung the equipment to hang the art here in City Hall so that we'll be able to start hanging our heart. We'll start be able to hang the art here very soon and start having those showcases here. And so the goal is to really get the community involved in these projects.
Yeah, go ahead.
And to that end, I think that's a really great goal for the committee to really look for, volunteer and self-funded projects. And yet, I just want you to know, I'm completely open. If the committee sees an opportunity in STAR that's bigger than that, then I would hope that they would feel that's included in the charter. Bring that forward. And maybe there's grants we can go for, or maybe not. Maybe it's something we can use, our park impact fees for. But I'm completely open to that idea.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Jennifer? Okay. Anything else, ladies? No? Okay. Let's see here. Economic Development Committee is really not there. It's kind of it's a Kevin. It's a Kevin and Trevor show on that one. So we don't need a budget. We get paid already. Impact Fee Committee, we still need to bring that impact fee back together. There's gonna be some associated costs with that. So we're gonna keep that 2,000 in there. Our Activities Committee, Ms. Dana, do we need the 2,000 for that? No. So we need to remove that one on the Activities Committee also. I think she told me that earlier and I forgot to do that. Sorry.
You want me to take it out right now as well?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah. Mayor's Youth Council at about 5,000. That's going to fluctuate based on what they do. They'll get merchandise, sell it, like the hats and whatnot, to increase the amounts for them. Historical Committee, this is a big one. You see that number? It's not a typo. So there's discussion and talk about the old Star Grange that's on the property on the other side of Highway 16, about moving that Grange and creating a museum out of that Grange. It's the old Grange Hall, I guess. It's a meeting place where there's actually, I did see from, it's a historical, it's not on a historical registry, but it's a building that's been part of Star for a long, long time. The Curtleys are in a book. I think there was a cookbook.
Where is it?
It's on the other side of highways. Just if you know where Graylock is, it's straight across Highway 16, kind of buried in these trees over there. There's about a $30,000 cost to move that Grange, 35,000. The Grange itself will cost about 200,000 to purchase on there. Some ideas, if you go to that little map that I gave you right here, you guys look at that in your little packet thing. Some ideas is to move that Grange down into that new property where that red box is, to create that museum and a place where a lot of our community goes already, so they can visit that museum. It could be a museum. We could have art. We could do all that kind of good stuff in there. But that's up to you guys to decide if this is something that you would like. We could put it in the budget. We don't have to move it. We can talk about it later as well.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman,
So without,
right there. So real quick, sorry, right there.
It's hiding right here.
Yeah, the problem is that little quarter-acre piece right there has the Grange Hall on it. Everything around of it is slated for development. We don't want to see that thing destroyed. The only part that would get moved is the metal building there. The other part is just a concrete addition block right there. It would be taken out. So go ahead. Sorry, Jennifer. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
so without like I don't know anything about this building or project. And so I'm wondering if maybe, I'm all for, preserving the historical buildings and it's, but I'm wondering if we keep this item out of the budget and then they come to the council
We can do that
With-
too. That's entirely up to you.
with approval when they're ready. So
I
re-
still, okay, here's the deal. If it's in the budget, my suggestion would be they still come to you for approval for the removal of it. The thing is when we get to the bottom of the budget, you're going to see a transfer of funds into the general fund because we're not spending nearly what is being collected. So, I mean, what we're going to end up doing is throwing in $300,000 back into that transfer. It's up to you guys how you want to do it.
Mayor,
Um,
I tend to agree with Jennifer on the premise of if you put it something earmarked in a budget, then I don't know who owns it or why it's for sale rather than even.
It's not for
donate-
sale.
than a donation. Or, if it's development land, it's quite likely they just bulldoze it. So you put a budget number out there though, then somebody know, well, here, I can
Well,
get
that's fair enough. I
$1,000
mean,
for it.
I have no issue with that, but just so you're aware, they brought this to me, so I put it on there
Sure.
for you to look at, and we definitely bring it back to the council. Now, it's something that I think is, when you talk to the Kirtleys and those, it's got some historical value to our city and to who we were.
And I think
Fine.
this is a great example of what Ryan just talked about, that the committees can go out there and find ways to get things donated and volunteer. But also what I said, that bring it to us and let's look at it. But first, let's go see if we can, acquire the building even for nothing. That way we can, put all that funds into the moving and restoration.
Mr. Mayor,
So put a note on there, Ryan, for that. And knock that down to 33,518.
And so the 33, what does that remember for?
That is for, hang on, so I'm gonna find did I have that written off to the side? What?
Can I,
Okay.
sorry, can I remove your note there and type, Mr. Mayor? Do you want me to leave that note?
What's on that note? I don't know if I put it on there. That's all the Grange Hall stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remove that. The 300,000,
The 33,000.
no, I'm finding that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if I wrote it down off to the side of that, so I didn't, yeah. Oh, please.
And then, Mr. Mayor, I think Mac was asking for some time.
You what?
I was just going to explain a little bit more about the Historical Society what they've been doing. So they located this building a while back. It's slated, how do you put that? ITD is going to pretty much they've made it uninhabitable. They've cut the water line. The owner is willing to turn around and sell or gift it to the city. Grange is a historical organization in the past. So it's really kind of unique. Jane Rayner, I think she might have been the one that brought it up to us about it. So anyway, it's just, they've done a lot of their homework on it.
If I'm not mistaken, I remember the family that owned it got paid for it and then moved.
Correct. The owners of this Grange now.
So we're double
off.
paying them if we,
Well, the owners that own it currently are the ones that purchased it and live in Utah.
I think they got paid when it widened.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They got something
They
from
got-
ITD. on it.
yeah.
Okay, I got
They got the check already and now we're fixing to double them up.
you. Got it. I do. So when I talk about this cookbook, I actually was at my family reunion and someone handed me this cookbook that came out of the Grange with listing with all the folks' names that participated in it, which is really cool. So no one else here had that. I was like, where the heck did they get that? At the family reunion, so. Let's see here. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Ryan, while we're waiting, under the committees, the transportation, can you change the title to transportation and pathway? And then change the beautification
Oh,
title.
yeah. Sorry. Old habits.
And then beautificate, so it's parks, art and beautification. Beautiful.
How's that? They spell it right?
Wonderful. Anybody else here go for Meridian? Because, oh, you did too? Awesome. I was Boise High. We're much smarter. Except you're way smarter than I am. I'm going to tell you that right. All right. So to answer some of your questions on the other historical stuff, as part of the second phase, the oral history interviews and documentation, they do have a 15-minute video out now that we'll be getting out so everybody can see that. It's also some work establishing a foundation for the museum establishment. An annual conference that's held in Boise for historical society museum stuff. And then additional assistance in research and locating the Oregon Trail that passed through or near Star, because it's been talked about that the Oregon Trail has come through Star as well, which is kind of cool on that, right? So that's what that is for on there, that additional 30,000. Any questions on that? And again, they would have to bring it to you, Councilman Nielsen, like we did in the past. So you can ask those questions on there. Hey, Ryan, can you go up number 85? I skipped. I just realized that. I think it was further down. Yeah. So on the IT side of this, we are going to move to an in-house IT guy shared between the city of Star, Star Sewer and Water, and Star Fire, and hopefully Ada County, so they can utilize help there. I brought that up to Chief this morning. So this IT gentleman that we have is I think we're beyond, and I've already talked to Ernie about this, and for the contract, we gave him his notice. His last day is going to be August 30th on this. Going to work with our new IT guy who is very, as Ernie said to me, it's time for the city of Star to move on. He actually said that when I brought this up to him. He was a cyber warfare guy, knows all sorts of information. He can set up networks, the computer, he also do the phones, the camera systems through our city. We're looking at utilizing him to do a badge swipe in to get in the building, electronic keys for this, the river house, all that kind of stuff that would also turn into the aspect of clocking in and out. You know, I mean, there's all sorts of good things that'll happen by having this guy on board, and he's here all the time, full time. Mr. Ernie can only get here like once a week, maybe, right, Ryan? Ernie, about once a week? Every Tuesday, he would show up here for us. He's already looked at some of our stuff and says that he can save a ton of money on our phone works, on our like our office, Microsoft Office pricing and all that kind of stuff. But for right now, we have to leave those prices in there, but we'll just see a deduct in that in this next budget because he doesn't have enough time to give us that information for this workshop because he just started Monday with us. Kevin, IT guy.
So you say he's former military?
Yep. Former military.
And that's what he did in the military?
He did in the military, did it and for his folks' business also. He set up all these networks. He did all the stuff for the fire department that's already there and established all that as well.
All those other things you mentioned that he might do, they cost quite a bit of money. So are you thinking stuff like the access
Right.
badge and stuff like that in the next fiscal year, or stuff to spec out and do?
Well, it's going to be in this next fiscal year. He'll put it together. We'll bring it into the council. If we're going to switch out programs on there, it wasn't a whole lot of money for them to set it up at the Star Fire Department for what they're doing there. So when he brings that in, this is why
I'm just wondering if we had to put like $25,000 or $30,000 into a budget for things like that.
like on a separate line item.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's go back. So when we go into So let me ask you a question, Mr. IT guy. When I go up to, where's like the Office 365,
Yeah.
does that look right for a cost that we're getting for that service for us? Because it just seems
Yes.
high.
You're paying for the government cloud. I don't think the Southern Computer Warehouse is only brokering the licenses. They may get a little bit of a fee, but that comes from Microsoft.
Okay,
It doesn't change our cost to Microsoft.
because that went up quite a bit.
Yeah, and honestly, it should probably go up more.
Really?
I'm not aware of what level of service, but if we're going to look at things like our phone system, then to me, it makes sense that we would take the physical PBX that we use today, or voice over IP service, and put that in the Microsoft cloud, which would increase our Microsoft licensing.
So what should I do? What should we do to that cost right there? Should we increase it?
I don't think that you should, because there's not anything, we don't have a quote, and there's not anything we can really point to, but I think a separate line item for IT projects, and just based on what you told me, or shared idea wise, I'm thinking $25,000 to $30,000 would cover it.
Okay.
So that the access control system, so you're getting rid of backups. I mean, there's some savings that he's talking about, but those savings come with other
There's
expenses.
other costs and stuff with it.
And I promise you that our spend's going to go up, not down.
Well, maybe.
Just saved 300,000 on our Grange insurance.
Right. But our service level is going to go way up too. So it's worth it.
Yes, it will go up. Our service level is going to go up quite a bit. So under Ryan, when you go back to the IT part, and then just on the side, just say add a line item for $30,000 for
Technology projects.
technology projects.
For 30K?
Yeah. 10%.
And
We're moving it to your house, Kevin.
yeah, and Councilman Nielsen
donating
is
the
is 100% correct, Mr. Mayor. That's one of the very first things we're going to do is with just what he mentioned.
Okay.
That's one of the very first things that's on the list to do, is to get rid of a couple of the vendors that we're using to manage our VoIP, and be able to move that to the cloud, manage it internally, upgrade our phone system. So he's spot on without even knowing what we're doing.
IT, that's why I always ask him the IT question,
Yeah.
because he knows what he's
So we
doing on that. Yeah, you can scroll back down. Sorry, I your poor captain's sitting here. He's gonna be last. Because our police are on the bottom. Sorry. Okay, go up a little bit here. So like that telephone cost of 20,000, may go down a little bit based off of that. So there may be a swap. Our waste management costs have gone up a little bit to 10. Our power's gone up a little bit with the facilities we have, street light costs that we pay for, natural gas.
Speaking of streetlights, did we ever figure out who's responsible for making them all work?
The ones that are down here.
The ones down State Street that aren't working, remember you?
So we
talked
did
about it?
discover that they are not hooked up, but they are going to be hooked up with this Highway 44 widening, because that was part of their project already. So they're moving them.
So the ones out here in front that aren't working, and
What do you mean?
there's several of those streetlights that are not working.
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll take a look at those
You
in
guys
the
got to
morning.
get out in the middle of the night.
I-
You could tell you.
I am out late. I'm out here early. All right, we'll take a look.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I can give you a specific, vague answer. Most, most of the
That's an
time, the
issue.
streetlights are the responsibility of the adjacent property. So the ones down in front of Bimart and NAPA, those are the responsibility of those.
But the ones that are in the core here are the responsibility of the city
Correct.
that are down here. There's like
I'll talk to Bob.
30 of them. Yeah, because we painted them 6 years ago or so on there. Yeah.
Kevin, let's get together afterwards. That's kind of my deal. So
Oh, yeah. You could beat on him for a bit. Irrigation shares, sewer and water. So previously we did not have any costs for sewer and water, but we're going to have some water costs with our splash pad. We just don't know what that's going to be. So we had to put a number in there of 4,000 for the year for that.
That's not the sewer the kids are using.
No, it's going to irrigation. And then our fiber costs are about 30,000 throughout the city. We do have our impact fee proportionate share costs. ACHD is a pass through. We don't get to keep any of that. However, we're going to renegotiate that contract with them. Starfire, we keep $20 of every permit as an administration fee. We do not have any ITD costs associated with this. That project will be done. Cross our fingers here by August. So we won't have any more projects right now scheduled for ITD widening, utilizing proportionate shares this next year. And then that's a pass through also for CHD4 minus the fee that we collect from them. We get down to this building expenses. This is the one that Councilman Wheelock has some suggestions on. This is what we pay our building official. They get 40% of the first $100,000 plus 25%. Oh yeah, 25% for go back. Let me go down. I can't remember it off the top of my head. So let me look here. Hang on. So so the building official gets 40% for the first $100,000 collected, and 25% for anything over $100,000 plus 25% of the plan review fees. So that's what he collects, and that's what we pay him. And so all the others get 60% of the fees that are collected, except for mechanical. They get all $35 for each man J review, which is a review that they must do. So Councilman Wheelock, did you want to?
It just seems logical that at this point, we should probably look at bringing that in-house. If we're
Yes.
going to say we're doing 500 permits a year, there's a lot of savings we can have at $500,000.
So the suggestion was, when Kevin was talking to me earlier, was making the changeover around January 1st of this next fiscal year on that. That's something that Ryan's going to need to be involved with, just so you guys are aware. And we'll look at different options and probably bring it back to you as a council on how we're going to handle that on there if you guys decide to go that direction. On here? Okay, so write it on the side, Brian, on the building inspector.
So would that change our fee structure then, since fees have to reflect
Doesn't
the
change
actual
the fee
cost?
structure because that fee structure is based off of the international code on how much we're collecting off of that. So that's not based on like the other fee schedules on our actual time worked. Two different things on there.
Okay.
I think though, Councilman Nielsen, to answer your question, it can enhance our fee structure a little bit. Some of the other cities have that have their inspectors internal. They have an hourly rate. If it's a certain inspection that happens after hours or is a re-inspection, we can also look at our re-inspection fees. We do have some leeway there. It would require council approval to change our ordinance that we have in place today.
Right.
But I think we do have a little bit there. But as far as how we value the homes and how that creates, that's dictated by the building code. But I think everything's open to interpretation.
Well, the root of my question is, number one, by bringing that in-house, are we going to be saving money to our community?
Hundreds of thousands to the city.
Well, but saving money to the community, it provides additional revenue for the city to help pay for other services and functions with the city.
Yeah, so I get that, but also every person that we hire in the city puts pressure on City Hall, not just from the perspective of, from the perspective of we've added a person, now that person is part of your staff, your management, performance improvement, training, all those other kind of overhead things. I realize the formula is built in, but it puts additional pressure on your staff to have more people. And so where the fee structure is set, not having that additional headcount internal it's probably easier to continue to contract that.
But is it worth the 500? So if we're looking at $480,000, well, look right here. So $518,000 has been paid to the one individual for the year. If it costs us 100, let's say it's 125,000 for base, and then you add another 40,000 for the incidentals. We're trading one for one.
Yeah, I mean,
we're still managing them.
And you can hire another office manager too for that.
Sure. And,
So-
but we're trading one for one instead of the 518. I see where he's going. Instead of the 518 going 100% to one individual, that we could bring in house and do the same product and retain that funding for
Yeah.
other stuff in the city. It's really not, it's not changing how we manage that. They still report to Ryan, right? Either way,
Whether he's contract or in.
or an individual employee in this case on that. Yeah. I get what you're saying, but I also understand what he's saying. I don't see us changing. it
I'm
because he
not
already
making
has
an argument
office.
one way or another, just, fully loaded cost of that change is an extra burden on City Hall. And is it worth it? It sounds to me like it is, but I just want to make sure that in that consideration that we're taking
No,
that into
I get
account.
that. Yeah, that extra burden to me, it's just an extra payroll step, I guess, to make certain that we're paying the FICA, the insurance and all that kind of stuff, right?
If,
on that.
if we're willing to add an employee for the outside yards at a moment's notice, because we're getting more parks, it's the cost savings versus one more person or two more people in the city staff isn't as major a deal.
Well, but to me, those are two different things because one's needs based. This one isn't a need base. We're not lacking services in that
But
area.
But you're overpaying significant.
Potentially.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
So when
Like I said, it's not an argument.
Yeah.
This is just an awareness.
when I came on city council, I remember I saw like this big number. I'm like, oh my gosh, we were paying so much money just out the door for a contractor. Why don't we bring him in-house? And at the time, and I think in over like the last few years also, I had brought it up, and the reasoning, some of the reasoning was because it's not like if we have a slowdown in our period in our building, we're not going to have to let someone go, right? And so, but we've been at 500 permits for the last 4 years,
So,
and it just seems like it's time.
well, it is time. And we did not follow the same trajectory as other communities did on building permit slowdowns this last fiscal year, starting in October. Everybody else is still on this thing. STAR is here. It's still continuing, right? It's not changing right now. And it may not. I mean, it just depends on what people's attitudes are on moving here.
It's like the fire season. You either get it now or you get it later.
You get it now or get it later.
But even if we were to take, say we have 200 building permits, would it be better to contract that out or to have those 2 employees?
It's one employee.
Well, oh yeah, 1 employee, but the extra kind of stress, or needs that it would bring, that 1 employee would bring to the city's, overall staff, management staff.
I guess I don't.
I think it's completely worth it. And also on these up years like we're having, and they do not seem to be slowing down, we're going to be putting, if we don't spend it somewhere else, we put it in savings. I mean, I think having an in-house person gives a little more quality control too.
It seems like a reasonable thing to go forward with.
We also have a little more room in our city building now that the officers have moved to their own building. We've got room for staff and office changes that needed or that would take place that would support that personnel.
And the person already has an office space. It's just reconfiguring the space is all. It's not changing anything in City Hall. It's just simply bringing it in-house, retaining the extra costs for the city for other stuff. So
Let's go.
Mr. Mayor, are you going to address the extra space when we talk about the other stuff?
I didn't hear you.
He brings up extra space, but we don't really have extra space. So are you going to?
It's the same space. Yeah. So we moved the police, we moved the clerks and treasurer's office upstairs. So that space is taken. Right. We moved the sports and rec folks down the street. That space we're hopefully going to utilize for driver's license. I've been talking with the sheriff about this, but the gal, Karen, what's the gal's name? The one that's always on vacation? Someone's always on. Kelly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what he keeps telling me. She's always on vacation when we're talking about it. We're gonna bring her out here. We're gonna see if this space will work for her. So beep, beep. Always on vacation. So we really don't, I mean, we have a current space that's gonna be reconfigured.
That's all I mean.
Yeah, right, right. So, all right. I use the space. Yeah, he wants me to call out myself that I'm using the space. So scroll down.
It's available to squish down if we need it to be.
Right. So,
Everybody can get a cubicle.
so we'll look at that. You wrote that on there, Ryan? On 136?
Yes, I did. So it is, if I come back up here, oh, did I not? I will. I thought I did.
We're just like review on bringing it in house January 1. And then this is going to take Ryan doing some work and then bringing it back to you guys. On that,
Do some work.
with a plan. You don't want an engineer to do it. Right. Or squared. Okay. We go down to sports. These are some budget items from them. We're going to remove the restrooms. They're all falling in below down with the with Bob's
On the
group.
parks. Yeah.
Moving restrooms that are falling in is bad.
Yes, moving restrooms are falling in. So everything is pretty close to being the same. There's a few increases like referees, equipment. There's some extra costs there. Uniform costs are going up. League fees were no longer with IYSA, so we removed that. Let's see, is that about right, Ryan? Everything there? Ryan Field?
Quit being professional.
So yeah, sorry. I wanted to, on the recreation software. I think what we did, Mr. Mayor, and I think at one point we had on the budget, we had sports and recreation broken out separately because the software we use for both departments is 3,500. And so we had it at
Split it.
1,770 on each line, but I don't see that other line.
Is it under class and activities down below?
It probably is.
It is not there. We need
It
to-
is not there. So that's what we just need to add, either change that to 35 or add the
Just make
1770.
that 35.
Okay, and that's what we'll do. And then if I may, Mr. Mayor, is this a good opportunity to talk about the negotiations about the community barn and the impacts that might have on the budget?
Yeah. You
So
guys, you're
did you already have it? I'm sorry if
gonna.
I'm jumping in.
No, do it.
Okay, thank you. So the community barn is the Friends Community Church barn that's on Star Road. Dana and I have been meeting with the elders of the church and working on creating a contract. They're very excited about this, to create a contract that would allow the city to provide maintenance to the facility and to the property, and for the city to do improvements on the property. In return, the city would be able to utilize the facility where we could host more programs and more events, more activities for the community. The church wants to become very much more involved in the community. However, the maintenance fees and just everything that's involved there is just too much for them to handle financially. And so starting right here very soon, we're going to add the mowing of the property to Bob's schedule. They're going to mow. Their staff is still going to flood irrigate for us, but Bob's going to get all the weeds cleaned up and everything. We're going to work with an arborist to come in and tell us how what trees need to be maintained, what things need to be cut, what things need to be added, this and that. Some of the needs to the facility are obviously restroom facilities, so we can get away from using porta potties. We need some air conditioning and heating facilities inside. We need some security on it in the form of cameras. And then if you guys have been in there recently, it's just a skin with 1-bys on the outside. So it's very airy, if you will. So we need to do some improvements there. The whole purpose of this is to try to preserve that facility. They had a developer come in and offer them a boatload of money to basically get rid of a bunch of those trees in that barn and develop that property. And they would like to not do that. And the mayor is very committed to trying to save historical places in Star. And that, if you mention that, almost everybody knows that when you say the community barn, most people understand what that is. So the elders of the church are very interested in entering into a contract with us that helps them preserve that property, but helps alleviate some of the cost of maintaining that property, because right now it's just astronomical for them. So these are some of the things that we need to discuss as far as a budget and see if that's if there's an appetite from the council to do those things. And the things that we would do there, for example, we did a country line dancing, I believe, in there at one point. People loved it. It's a big old barn. We're teaching country line dancing and country swing and just different activities. We did the daddy-daughter dance there last year. Huge success. We plan to make that an annual event there. And so by us doing improvements, we get to use the facility for free, which is a benefit for everybody. But obviously we need the support of the council to make that happen.
So any contract that gets established would come before the council to approve it
That's correct.
on there, just so you're aware.
Will this be ready before the budget hearing?
No,
No. Well,
I don't think so.
No, it's going to take, I think, several.
It's not gonna, we don't want to put it on
iterations.
the budget yet. It's gonna be something that you're gonna have to add if you decide to do that with the contract on what our responsibilities and stuff will be. But
that's fine.
he's just letting you know what may be forthcoming for this next fiscal year. Any question?
Yeah,
Kevin?
Mayor.
Kevin?
Oh,
Ian or Ann? Ian?
in this time.
And followed by Ann.
Awesome. So when you say we get to use it,
Mhm.
just for a few annual events, or has this now become a space that we could schedule regular Parks and Rec type events that we could rent out for weddings?
Well, we won't rent out weddings out of that facility. That won't be for us to do. It's gonna be more for our parks and recreation activities
Yeah.
on there.
What we're currently asking for right now is that if we make improvements, we have access to the facility Monday through Thursday, which leaves them Friday, Saturday, Sunday to their big events or weddings. And so it gives us the opportunity 4 days a week to host our programs with the occasional daddy-daughter dance, which is on a Saturday, those types of things. That's the initial ask that we've had in our negotiations thus far.
You remember years ago when we tried to buy that
Yeah.
facility?
Yeah, they were pretty excited until they weren't.
Till they weren't. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What financial commitment are you looking at making to that building?
Well, that's what we're gonna have to, as we get in the discussion, we'll have to find out. What does that look like? Does it look like we're gonna have to put in heating and air? Right? What does that cost? We're gonna have to put in a restroom facility.
Yep.
There's just, I think at some point, we're gonna have to put in a couple whole, singles toilet, block building, restroom building
So,
for people to utilize.
okay,
What's that?
200,000.
I think, yeah, it's about probably 125 now, right now for just those single hole things without all the mechanical stuff that you have to do in there, right? So there's different things like that that we're gonna have to look at when we're dealing with this, but it's not part of the budget right now. It's just something for you to think about for the future when we bring it back to you.
Okay.
We'll get more stuff dialed in on it.
We can move on.
Yeah,
Lots of questions, but
there's a lot of questions and there should be a lot of questions.
Yeah, because renting it for a weekend is $2,000, and now we're looking at putting $200,000 in restrooms. I mean,
Well, but there's a lot more to it too, as far as what kind of programming and stuff that we can offer that's going to help offset those costs as well.
that's a lot of
Yeah,
offset.
We'll
But yeah,
we'll look at all that. We'll get it all together on that. So does that work, Ryan?
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, I kind of thought maybe we'd have something in the budget, but if we
We do not have anything in the budget for that right now.
if we want to
because
just
can't.
come back and ask, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
things not.
Yeah, with the contract, and then we'll ask when we get it all dialed in on exactly what we're going to be doing.
but we're starting maintenance on it now.
We're mowing the yard.
Yes, we're going to start mowing and taking care of the weeds.
Yeah.
In exchange for free use of the building on occasionally right now based on, we're working with them on that, but yes.
Okay, any other questions on that? No? Okay, classes and activities, you can see the equipment, the instructor counselor. There's a lot more counselors now, right? And
A
instructors.
lot more
on
counselors
all-
and
On
instructors.
all the things that we do with these youth. I don't know if did you guys see the fact that Miss Annie won some awards
Yeah.
at the AIC for her before and after school programming and the
Baking
baking
camps.
camps. Those things are friggin' popular. It's incredible the number of kids that are over there.
It's awesome.
So, we also, so it's pretty self-explanatory on there. Our rentals is not going to be nearly as much, since we have our new little rec area down there by the police. I'm sure they enjoy all the yelling through the window, right? We actually doubled up that wall in there with insulation. Does it work? Okay, good. On that.
And here shooting on the other side.
That's right. Parks Development. We do not have anything further at Blake Haven this next year. We're looking at adding batting cages at Hunters Creek Park. West Point and Riverwalk Parks, we do not, yes, sir.
What are the batting cages entail?
About
Is it
8
netting?
poles and netting for that thing and the groundwork for it and some brickwork around it.
Mechanical throwers or
No. It'll
just
have
just the
it'll
net?
have power in there if they want to bring in their, or the Parks and Rec want to utilize their pitching machines. You can utilize that stuff in there as well, but it's not going to be in there permanently for anybody just to jump in there and use on there. Yeah. That's too dangerous. You get kids standing there shooting those balls at each other would not be good. West Point and Riverwalk, nothing. The Freedom Park, $1 million continuation over for the continuation of the park construction that'll roll over into this next fiscal year. I don't know if you guys have seen down there all the work that they've been doing on that. There's a lot of site work that's been completed and all that rock work that's been completed around the ponds. And then Pavilion Park, we're going to have the pickleball, basketball. It's not called bocce. What is it called? Nachi? What is it? It's not bocce ball though. It's not. It's what's it called?
Gaga ball.
Ganga ball?
Gaga ball.
Gaga ball. I couldn't remember what it's a different game. Yeah. It's a pretty cool game, but it's going to be part of the rec area over there on that. So we need to change that to Gaga ball, not bocce ball. Not Lady Gaga.
We're
either.
not putting Gaga on an official document. I'm just joking. Gaga. So Kevin will help me spell it.
Yeah.
The plan is to get these completed this fall.
GA.
So the splash pad, guys, is supposed to be, we were trying to get it done by July 4th. It's probably going to be the week after before it's completed. The parking lot, I believe it'll be completed in August, 1st of August on there, which will add, once that parking lot's completed, these things can we can work on these things later this fall. Trident Ridge and Roselands Park won't have any improvements until 24-25. However, we're going to get together a committee of citizens about the Roselands Park up there. And then the 946 Main Street, we're looking at doing the parking on that and then look at doing the building on it in 2025. So we need some parking down there because we have events. It's incredible the number of folks that show up at these things. Okay. Questions? Yep.
Can we skip down to the police part?
Are you getting, sorry,
It
Captain.
feels like you're just dragging this out to keep those guys waiting.
I'm not dragging it out. I'm not trying to anyway. You roll down to the police side of it there, Ryan, to the bottom.
Mandatory expenses.
We're there.
Oh,
234.
here's the thing. I was looking at my computer and it wasn't moving. Sorry. I apologize. I'm like, dude, you're not moving it, man. So on the law enforcement side of it, we got Mr. Chief Zach here and his staff from Ada County. We're looking at increasing 2 additional deputies. And there's some increased costs that he's going to talk about here real quick for you. Well, we got to give him a time. We know his reports are thorough, right?
You have a response time of 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Go.
All right.
You like
So-
that?
There you go. I see the timer. Hey, the longer this is, the more my captain appreciates me coming to these meetings. So I'm okay for waiting for a little while. Yeah, so just as, and as I go through this, we have Michael Blumstrom here from Ada County Finance that'll kind of help me out if I get stuck or you guys have any questions that I can't answer. But
And I think I put that sheet in your packet too on the police as well.
yeah,
Is it in the micro print?
So the total, to stay where we're at with personnel, the total increase is $251,285. And to kind of break that down and explain where that's coming from, since the timer's going here. So last year, because City of Star was on the ball, we ended up actually doing the budget before the Board of County Commissioners and the Ada County had their budgets in place. We did the 4% increase for the COLA. Well, they ended up, once that was all done, they ended up doing 5% plus $1. So it ended up being about, across the board, about a 7% increase. Well, instead of coming back and asking for us to change the contract or to change the budget you guys already did, Ada County just ended up taking on that expense, that 3%. So we got to add that 3% to this budget year going into. And then on top of that, we're looking at and again, these numbers could change, but 3% plus $1 is what the Board of County Commissioners are looking at for all of Ada County Sheriff's Office to have. And so that's about a 5% increase. And so total going into fiscal year 24, it's going to be about an 8% increase in personnel budget or wages, which is about $146,680. Then the other issue that we ran into as well is the overtime costs. So I don't know exactly how long the overtime costs has been at $4,000 per deputy. I think it's been probably 10 plus years, probably more than that. And I'm getting a shake of more than that. So we haven't moved that number of $4,000 per deputy for a very long time. Well, what we're finding is just if you take the holidays throughout the year and paying for the patrol deputies, this doesn't include the 2 detectives we have or myself. I don't get overtime anymore. But if you take them out of the equation, it's just the holidays. It's about $11,000 per deputy is what it costs per year. So we have to increase that number from 4,000 up to 11,000. And if you add in the variable costs throughout, it's about a total of $84,700. It's going to be to pay for the overtime for our deputies here in Star. So out of the $251,000, $231,000 of that is just personnel costs. The other portion of that is equipment, uniforms.
Sorry.
Oh,
Can I ask a question? As we increase the number of deputies that are on our roster full-time, does that decrease our overall overtime costs throughout the year?
no, because they still get the paid holidays. They still get paid to be on.
Got it.
So yeah, so that's
So it actually increases it a bit.
yes.
Thanks.
But that 11,000 will be built in to every new deputy that we have that will cover that cost. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Equipment and uniforms, and we haven't updated that of how much it costs to have the radios, all the stuff that's on my belt, the body cameras, all those type of things. It's about $1,100 increase per deputy. So that was about $14,900. Vehicle costs, as we talked all night tonight, that everything's going up in price. So vehicle costs for fiscal year 23, we paid about $57,886 for a total build out costs for a Tahoe. Well, coming up fiscal year 24, the estimate is $68,161. If you look at it, so about $14,455 of the $22,000 is a result of vehicle cost increases. And then there's about $7,700 as a result of maintenance and then fuel costs because fuel is going up as well. And then the support side of that, the extra $2,800 is going to go up in price. Every time we enter a crime into NIBRS, it's a $35 charge. And so as I was pointing out, you saw in the court fees went up, or we got more back from the court. That also where we've got to put in more into NIBRS to keep the national database up to date. So it's about an extra $2,800 for that. And then we do have less shared service credit that did increase. I don't know if that shows on your guys there, but so that's what the increase is for the total. Oh, that's what they're looking at. So that's what the total increase is, just to stay base, is at $251,285. Do you have any questions on that at all? So to stay where we're at, it was still cost.
The total we have on there is option 1, it looks like.
Correct.
So let me ask you this, Chief. what would that take us to? The 2 deputies in a Tahoe? Could that be like 2 deputies in a bicycle? Maybe we could cut it down a little bit. But so
2.4 million is our,
what I'm saying is
It's a
the
tandem
ratio
bike.
that
what
one,
what's our new
that
ratio?
one we try to hit, I'd like to get it to 1.1 if I'm going the right way on the scale. Where it's 1.1 officers to 1,000.
That's why I
Where
really
does,
like.
where does this option 1 take us now? And where do you think it takes us if our growth stays the same?
So right now, where we stand, we're at point, with the 17,690 population, we're at 0.73 to 1,000. If we add 2 deputies, which we're asking for, it'll take us to about 0.84 per 1,000, where we'll be at.
About 3. It just
3 would be 0.9.
But remember, you almost need to do them in pairs because they're going to be on each side of the shift. Each shift, there's 2 shifts a week or 2 teams, I guess, right? Blue and gray or something like that. But there's a couple, I don't mean to be jumping in. Still,
That's all right. You could
I'm
go
just
for it.
going down the list that I'm seeing of the options presented.
No, I show, but we do have some other options that may be coming forward to you. We won't know until sometime in August if we're going to get this grant. It's going to add that step patrol officer, which at that time we may add 2 step patrol, one with the grant, and we'll come back to you to ask to see if we can add a second. If we get that grant, which will increase our officer per 1,000 to 4. You know, with those 2 additional.
So 2 additional, if we added the 2 patrol that we're talking about in option 1, then you added 2 more for the traffic enforcement team, you'd be at, let's see, 0.96 to 1,000.
It puts us really close to that number on there.
And then what if we factor in the 2 officers that we asked the Willowbrook development to?
And so we've had discussions on that, and that's all based on when they start that project up there after we do the findings of fact and all that stuff. So we don't know if they start. My guess is the earliest that they'll even be able to start on that project would be January, February timeframe.
Right.
And then that would put us at what? Do you have that figured at a 1 point something? I mean,
So-
let's try to close to that.
18, if the 18 deputy, we'd have 19 on. I have up to 18 as 1.02. So you add another 1 in there, you'd be about 1.1.
Which of those would be deputies or detectives and more?
So the ones we're talking about tonight, essentially, if say we got the 2 for the golf course, 2 for patrol, there's 4, and then 2 for the traffic team, that's 6. So they all would be out on patrol essentially, except for the 2 traffic guys wouldn't be taking calls from dispatch unless it's something really heavy that's going on. They'd be the ones out here on Highway 44 and doing the traffic enforcement throughout Star.
Throughout Star in the neighborhoods and all that.
And I'm assuming we would handpick those that would be the patrol
Absolutely.
so that's their specialty and that's their love and that's what they like to do.
So we'd open up a spot for it and we'd have people put in, we handpick through them.
And we've had discussions for future stuff after this all settles down based on the Willowbrook thing. And if we get this grant or whatnot, looking at adding detectives, right? Into our people's crime or person's crimes or something like that, or
Yeah.
how
So
would you do that.
So we have Ashley Turner's our person crime detective, and she's very busy with different health and welfare referrals coming in for kids throughout Star, and also working cases. But we probably, with her caseload, the next thing we're looking at is another person crime detective, especially with working with juveniles, those type of things. And then other future thing is admin sergeant. That essentially, we'd have to be looking at once we start adding special teams, just to make sure we have the right supervision out there.
That's my point is at what point do we start adding above the patrol level?
Not this year. Next year, we'll start looking at that in the next budget cycle and seeing where we're at. Unless you're very generous, I want to do it right now.
So coming to that point, it would be great to compare some of these numbers against the percentage of new construction tax that we are not able to collect, and how that would offset these demands. The growth there is
Sure. We can work on that, but we also have the mitigation fees that we put in place starting last August. I think it is, right? So we're going to have a
Sure.
full year of mitigation fees that is going to help offset that we're having to put in. But I know what you're saying, to see what that
Yeah, and
being able to cover that with what we could have had in the past without doing all
Right.
this other stuff.
and I'd love to see the mitigation fee included in that, not as an offset, but as a cost of House Bill 389 to the city, because it isn't an offset. It's the shift of tax burden to these other things that really aren't taxes, which are, we heard Senator Groh stand up in front of all of the elected city officials and say the property tax is the most egregious tax because it doesn't have representation in front of all the representors, right? But what doesn't have representation is House Bill 389. That's taxation without representation. And that needs to be highlighted, and we should be publishing that everywhere we can.
So when you go to this 2.4 million, remember, we're covering all of our property taxes, cover our police contract, along with the 500,000 mitigation fees that we've collected. So with that, we're going to be short about $31,000, but that'll come out of the general fund to cover that for the year with the 2 officers and that increase that he's talking about. Now we'll have to come back to you once this grant thing is decided on, if we get it, to add that in to the budget and then add in the additional officer that we're going to want with that for the step patrol.
At what point do we buy the officer scooter so he can hang out at the skate park?
Scooters?
Those are not allowed at the skate park.
Oh, no, they're Razor, the little ones.
Oh, that's right. It's the bikes that aren't allowed.
The bikes are not allowed.
So no to the officer bicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess this budget's not passing.
Serious question. We're presented here with 3 options. To me, that all 3 of them are what you're asking for, and I'm supposed to pick the one I can afford. That's the way it kind of feels. But then I heard you say what I'm asking for is option 1. But what are you truly asking for?
Well, I mean, as a city as a goal, we have 1 to 1,000 is our goal. Talking with the mayor, I mean, I do see in the future. So because of what happened the other night with the golf course, I think adding 6 for this next year, if you look at the 2 patrol that we're asking for October 1, the option 1 essentially. And then if you add 2 more come when the golf course starts, and if we can add a second to that grant, if we get that grant, that'd be 6 total. That'll give it 19 officers here or 19 commissioned deputies here in Star. And if I know we'll be over the 17,690 at that time. We'll probably be 18 and a half, probably population wise. We'll be at that 1 to 1,000.
So if I understand correctly, you're asking for option 1, knowing that as these other events occur, we'll be coming back and revisiting this number based on those events.
Correct.
You got
Okay.
4 more officers coming at random times during the year when their portion comes online.
But here's, go ahead.
Sorry. Just so you understand too, and I'm trying to just think, because I know that I've talked with the mayor quite a bit about the budget too. So when we get that grant, if we get that grant in August, the city of Stars has stated that they'll match it with a $70,000 vehicle. Well, if we end up adding another deputy, which I highly think that's the most effective way to have a traffic enforcement team if they're working together, you're not only going to have to pay the $147,000 for that deputy, but you have to pay $70,000 on top of that as well for the vehicle too, because they got to have separate.
Right.
They can't share the vehicle.
Yep.
So there is I'm
Makes sense.
going to throw this out here. There is an option if we're talking about that Willowbrook and the golf course with the 2 deputies that we're requiring them to pay for, to add that now, get them trained and on staff on October 1, right? I mean, is the goal to get them in October?
Well, we'd if you add in October, we'd have to see where our hiring status is and where they're trained at. So it might take 4 or 5 months.
Oh, here, you got the microphone there?
So we try to anticipate what each of the contract cities is going to add. But we have to start that process well before these discussions happen. for example, right now we're trying to hire for the August Academy. So we're hiring right now to get them through a 3-month hiring process to start them in August. So we have been planning on roughly 4 for contracts, 2 for Star and 2 for Eagle, but it looks like the 2 for Eagle might not happen. I don't know yet, but that's what we kind of ballparked for the August Academy. So we're preparing to add additional bodies in the contracts. It's just that it depends. Chief Hessing has been talking about the 2 traffic units for several months, but we know we can't wait until 1 October to then start hiring that person, because then it's a 3-month hiring process. And then they go to a March Academy, and then they roll off in September off training. And you're like, well, we just paid for a deputy for a full year by that point. So we're trying to absorb that cost and on the front end as much as we can, so that we can deliver a trained deputy as soon as possible once that 1 October date hits. We're trying to essentially split the difference. We'll anticipate we pay for the bulk of the training. Well, not the bulk, but the initial few months, and then we negotiate when they can start based on the hiring across the county.
And so that grant won't start till October 1 either. It doesn't start
Right.
until new fiscal year. So it might behoove us to add the 4 into the budget now, so they know to get.
Yeah, because that sends the demand signal with the funding to match it.
What I was gonna suggest is let's just go with the option 3, see how it pencils out, and hope we get the grant in the when Willowbrook starts.
Yeah, I would add the 2 that we're talking about today. Anticipate the grant being in our favor and another deputy. But I would wait on the 2 Willowbrook until that was their money. Because we all know that those things are never as timely as they all think they are.
So Councilman Wheelock, are you in agreement then for option 3, 3 deputies and a detective? That'd be the 4 now.
We could budget for it and go with the 2 plus 1, and hopefully the other one is paid for through the grant. And we'd expect to put another vehicle under them, maybe an electric scooter or.
So it says 2 Tahoes.
He's all over that electric scooter.
Is it unmarked because you just want to save money on the markings?
So no, that'd be
Kidding.
for the, yeah. So the option 3 was talking about 3 deputies and 1 detective. Essentially what was that for was anticipating if we got the grant, one of those deputies would be the other side of that traffic enforcement team.
Right.
So there's the 1, and then you have to add 2 to patrol. And then we're also adding 1 detective. That's where that unmarked vehicle is, because they drive around unmarked vehicles.
So option 2 would be the,
Option
I mean,
2
unless you're wanting to add that
discussing.
detective now.
Option 2 is probably more what I hear he's talking about.
Option 2 is the one I'm thinking.
But it's not.
No, but that's assuming,
That's assuming.
that's what we're paying for.
One's
But
a
then the
grant.
grant would pay for the 4th deputy with that.
I'm cool with either.
Well, so from a budgeting standpoint, if we did go with option 3, then we've covered the 4 without needing to get the grant.
Right. That's why I said let's see it pencil out.
Yeah, what if we put in option 3 and then see where our final number is, and if we need to cut somewhere?
Yeah, we don't
And
have
we
to
can
spend the
go-
whole amount.
Right.
That's better not. That's what I was trying to say. So, yeah, put it in. Right now we're in. Let's do what happens land.
It's if I'm just, help me if I understand right. We're all in favor of having more officers and putting them out optimistically. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against officers. But we're all for putting optimistically out that extra 100 or 200,000 and sidestepping from the Grange without having any discussion that direction.
I'll go
I mean,
ahead.
I don't follow.
we were willing to walk away from the $300,000, move the Grange and put it over here to preserve it. But as far as spending money for future officers, we seem to be adding an extra $200,000 without hesitation.
Right.
I can
I think it's a difference between public safety and.
That's what I'm asking the discussion,
We didn't
which
take
way
the
that's going.
Grange off the table. We said there's just so many unknowns.
So I know, like in the past, Chief, you've mentioned that we are in a safer community, like we have less calls. So can you just mention that again?
So one of the things that we see kind of correlate together is the amount of proactivity usually drives down the crime rate. And the city of Star, absolutely one of the safest per crime rate, right? And that's that NIBRS numbers that come out. We are one of the safest in all of Ada County. So the more we have officers out there being proactive, that's one reason why you're seeing the court costs come back to us. We're making more arrests, making more infractions, citations, those type of things, because we're being more proactive, getting people off the street, the amount of, if you just look in the last couple of months, the amount of drugs we pull off Highway 44, making traffic stops has been pretty incredible. And so, though we are in a safer community, I think the goal of the 1 to 1,000, just kind of answer your question, allows us to be the proactive police department we want to be. So I know I've talked about in the past working for an agency that was more reactive. You saw the crime rate go through the roof, and we're just reacting to citizens calling for service. And so I think a good number, again, I mean, the national average, I think is 2.7 officers per thousand. And then for this area, Northwest area, it's like 1.9. And so because we're in that safer community, I think that 1 to 1,000 is a good number to hit. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And does it say anywhere in our comprehensive plan what ratio that we're looking for? I was trying
Yes.
to get. Do you
It's in
know
that
what it
police,
is?
yeah, it's 1 to 1,000.
It is the same.
It's 1 to 1,000,
Yeah.
4-minute or less response time, proactive policing. Was there another one? I think it was those 3 primary things that we have in our comp plan on what our goals are for our community.
I think it was give Chief Zach Hessing everything he asked for without question.
Well, I think that helps.
And 2 more
support-
officers.
And 2 more. Yeah.
Well, if that helps, we have in our comprehensive plan, right? That's our goal of, we want to have 1 per 1,000. And so, by adding these extra officers, it gets us closer to our goal. So, personally, like I'm naive and just live in la la land and think that everybody is safe, and I'd rather spend the money on other things if we don't need to put the money towards police. But it seems like it's needed.
I think the biggest takeaway needs to be, if you're proactive, your crime is lower. If we have to start reacting, our crime's going to go up and we're going to be behind. And so don't ever get behind. Stay ahead of the game so you keep your community safe and you can stay in your la la land if that's where you want to be.
Well,
The reality.
Is that in option 3? And
Look, I feel the pressure on La La Land, and I know that you guys are seeing it, and it's such a delicate balance. And so, yeah, I will. I'm not sure it's a fair comparison to compare the Grange, but yeah, I'll spend money on police all day and forego other projects if we have to, because that, to me, that is the base service. That is the purpose for which government is established. And all those other things are nice to haves.
Right.
So
Go ahead.
Let me just ask, just clarify, if we do option 3, I know that says 3 deputies and 1 detective. Are we thinking that that 1 detective is at a detective spot? And we're thinking 3 plus the grant and the detective? Is that what we're, okay.
1.0.
0.96 or 9.
9 something ratio.
Yeah, that would put us to 1.2 is what
No,
well,
0.9 something, because the 2 officers for Willowbrook was the one that carried us over to 1.2.
Those are the card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be 0.96 is where we're at.
Yeah, and just kind of going off your point earlier about the House Bill 189 and all that, but in the past, I believe that we've used the majority, if not all, of the property taxes on our police. And I mean, this year, we're going to fall short by a lot.
Well, we're falling, correct, but that's
But we're making up with
correct.
it. We're going to cover it through the mitigation fee that
Right.
we, you know, we're forward thinking and put that in place to help protect the citizens. But yeah, it's tough.
Well,
Yeah.
and that mitigation step, it runs out in 4 or 5 years. Right? House Bill 389's got to be corrected
And that,
because this isn't a sustainable approach.
no, it's not, it's not sustainable. However, it's this avenue that we have today.
Right. Yep.
And then we can get that corrected. The beauty of STAR has been being fiscally responsible, having cash in the bank to cover the shortfalls if we ever come into a shortfall until we get some change at the state level, which is nice, right?
And that's also one of the beauties of contracting is heaven forbid if we had to, a contract can contract.
Yep. We're not going to,
Well,
not
just
the plan.
just to add in there, I don't.
You'd be first
That's
to
one of my fears. I
stay.
don't want to get to the point where we look at this and say the housing starts slowing way down like we're seeing in some places. I don't want to get to the point where we don't have the mitigation fees to sustain what the current deputies we have. So that's one of my biggest concerns. I don't want to have to go back and say, hey, we got to either move you to a different spot in Ada County or I don't have a spot for you. So you're
Well,
gone.
and to that point, there are other levers that we could start to pull when we approach that. And that's when legal moratoriums become possible. Right? If the growth can't be sustained, then health, safety, and welfare is endangered. So,
And in my opinion, that's where you dip into your savings to help maintain that, because if the economy starts going to crap, that's the time when crime's really going to pick up.
right.
Right. And you need to make certain that you don't reduce your police officers at that time so you can maintain public safety in your community. So I think there's avenues to correct that. What you're talking about through the savings, through other means, if we can get the legislature to change their ways to maintain what we need here in our community.
I wanted to agree with you. I understand that our job is police and the Grange and stuff, like the other stuff is extra. It's,
I know you agree.
it's just to be clear.
No. You're very clear. I get it.
I have no question where you stand on those things.
Not at all. Yeah. So so you want us to change the option 3? Right. Oh, yeah. Are you? Oh, right here, Jennifer.
And Mayor, one last thing, Zach, usually I ask, is there anything else that the officers need? This year, I'm not asking that.
Okay. Well taken.
Is that 94? What page is that? Ryan?
Okay, if you want to go back to the.
What page is that in the comp plan?
It is page 94, I believe, but it's section
So
11.2.1.
truly page 74 in the comp plan. Whatever reason that doesn't add it right, but
Oh, yeah.
so in our public safety police section of the comp plan, and by the way, the state requires this. This is what the problem is. The state requires you to have these sections in your comprehensive plan, but they're making it hard for us to fund these sections in the comprehensive plan. And so that's why we have these other functions on there. All right, thank you. You go back and add option 3, Ryan. Well, you're going to make it 2,768,829.
Spend an extra $250,000. We don't clap, Dale. We didn't blue last week. We don't clap this week.
Right. You're right. You're right.
We didn't boo last week. We don't, yeah.
We don't allow
For you guys
clapping. I'm
on
going to
that?
volunteer for tasing later.
Start with in.
And
No. No, and.
Let's go ahead and finish your conversation.
Rough map. We're doing
Okay.
So just to kind of explain what Captain Jens is saying here. So usually if we didn't have a contract, we were just a city police department. Once the body's approved to pay for, that's when we hire, and it takes 2 to 3 months to hire. And then usually it takes almost a year to get somebody off of training. So because they go to the academy and then they go to field training. They'd be in field training. So until you get a body actually in a car, you're talking 10 to 12 months. What we've done with the Ada County, because it's a contract, we've kind of cut that in half. So usually we get a body in about 4 or 5 months rather than waiting the 10 months it usually takes. Did I explain that correct?
Oh, I'm getting yelled at for the microphone.
So, for example, right now we're giving conditional offers.
Dan, it's blinking green and red. Is that a problem?
Just give him that microphone.
Just here.
I'm green now.
Oh, there you go.
Solid green. So just rough timelines. We're giving conditional offers for employees to hopefully get them through background to start in August. Matter of fact, several of them started that process in May, almost a month ago. Matter of fact, HR is telling us right now, for some in the jail, they don't know if they're going to get them done by August. But so if you figure that some of those people have started in the process last month, they'll go through the academy, which is a 20-week academy. And then the FTO program is another 16 weeks. But that's not 16 calendar weeks, that's 16 work weeks. So that roughly has an August hire on their own in a patrol car in the April-May timeframe of next year. So we wouldn't make you necessarily start paying for them on 1 October and wait that whole time. We're going to probably, based on hiring, we would try to get them to you in that probably January, February timeframe, so that you're paying for about 4 months and we're taking the other 4 months. Because if it went past January, February to be good stewards and good partners, we would just probably take it's not necessarily overage, just a relief factor, but we would take from South County or another part of the county to give you your body sooner before we said, well, sorry, you can't have those bodies until that true April, May timeframe. So we would do our best to be good partners in that.
We're more than happy to drive through Eagle and handpick our officers.
Chief Hessing does a pretty good job of handpicking them already.
See? Skills.
Except for Dell.
Oh, missed one. We got him from Emmett. That's right.
So did you put that in there, Ryan?
So I just want to confirm. So I have this number entered off from Chief's page. Let's just make sure.
Yep.
2.768829.
Correct.
And then what do you want me to add? Anything in the notes? Do you want me to add option 3? What do you want me to do there?
Yeah, just
Anything?
put on the end of that, that we are going to, discussion is going to option 3.
And a new Tahoe.
Or
That includes, oh, no, actually it doesn't. We need to,
And
we need to
a new
add,
Tahoe. Yeah.
we actually need to add 70,000 to that number.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well, no, because you already have it. It's 2 point.
Is that with the spare truck?
2,768,829. That number there, that includes that 2 Tahoes and 1 unmarked, but it does not include the Tahoe if we get the grant.
So plus the 70. Yeah.
So it depends on if we get that grant. That wouldn't include that. And then if you get the grant, that's adding another deputy to that grant, and it'd be another 70,000.
Well, wouldn't that 3 deputies cover that though? So 2 deputies plus 1 outside of the grant plus 1 detective.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Special.
So we need to add 140,000 to that. To be clear with the anticipating the grant, you need to add 140,000 to that number for the 2 extra cars for the STEP program.
Well, the grant includes 1 car.
No, we have to pay for the car. It includes the personnel.
So
the year.
So the 1 officer, and then we need to get a 2nd officer, which is part of this,
Right. The officer's part of this.
and an additional car. So the
2 cars.
So I need to add 70 grand, 140 grand.
so we're looking at an addition of 4 vehicles.
Well, you're looking at addition Yeah, because one Tahoe, oh, I
Nope,
see.
nope.
You got two
He-
Tahoes. and
you're
one Hummer, so
correct.
you add 70,000. You're right.
Councilman, you're correct.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't read this too.
So I'm adding 70.
Yeah.
So it should be 2.838829. That, somebody check my meridian math.
Just like you said.
Is the extra Tahoe marked or unmarked? I mean,
It's a step car.
Be a step car.
Why
It'll-
don't we get one
okay.
white and one black? That way we could have salt and pepper.
He's getting frisky.
Dude, it's time
you're
to
talking about cars,
go home.
right?
to adjourn.
All right.
So
Good.
let me just ask,
So is that number?
We're gonna get an updated number tomorrow that we can put in there based on our discussion tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
So I'm just gonna put this number in place filler, and then in here you wanted me to just add option 3.
Yeah, option 3 plus 1 car.
Option 3 plus 1 car.
and Michael, did I miss anything else? Anything else in that?
So this is the negotiation part. Do I get a discount now that we're adding 2 cars? Can we get 2 for 1?
Mayor, I think we all should get to be deputized so that we can help.
I can do that. By state statute, I'm allowed to deputize.
I think that's an incredibly bad idea. It goes straight to my head.
But I will not do that
And
unless
then
we have a
an
national
extra
emergency.
Tahoe.
Right. Okay, so we're good? You guys can take off. We're out. We're done
Thank
with
you.
the side. Yep, thank you.
Appreciate you staying through the early part. It got a little fun at the end.
Well, there's another part on this I want to talk about right above that is the animal control portion of this. Feels good. All right, let's move the animal control. No, I get it. Talk to Bob. Let him add it to the budget. Let's go to animal control. We are on, in your packets, I believe I included, we've had quite a bit of discussion about what does our animal control look like? We need to, Ryan, you need to go over left a little bit so we can see the tab before. There we go. So currently we have, our animal control is done with our police picking up dogs, taking them out to Zach over here at his vet clinic, and then he handles those pups. And that's a $16,800 a year is what it's cost us for that. There's been, with all the new folks that have moved here, there's been a very big push on actually utilizing the animal control officers, the Humane Society. So I got a contract cost for the year, which is $82,225 to have animal control, which in this packet will tell you exactly what they do for that cost. You would make our officers very happy not to have to deal with animals out there and just regular calls. Oh, so in this animal control contract, it talks about their enforcement mechanism, what they do for enforcement. They operate 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. With emergency service for aggressive or injured animals 24 hours a day. You can see all the different things they do under the enforcement side by impoundment of free roaming dogs. They do mediation of disputes between citizens over animal-related issues and complaints. The officers wouldn't have to worry about that.
What's the response time?
I don't know. I can't even, it doesn't, I don't know. You can answer that maybe.
So I can answer for South County when I worked in South County. The response time to get out there for animal control was about 45 minutes to an hour to get out there.
Yep.
That's not okay.
It's not okay. However, there's extra stuff that they take care of on the field services. They deal with cats at large, which has become a problem.
Got live traps. It's fine.
Yes. Right. They deal with
They're hired.
dogs barking, livestock at large. We don't need to have Ralphie out there rounding up dogs or cows anymore. That's right. Brashear, sorry.
Deputy Brashears.
It's like
Yep.
Ralphie from the Christmas story. They deal with vicious dogs, injured dogs, cats, or wildlife, injured, sick, stray dogs or cats, agency assistance, abandoned animals, neglected animals, which I'm going to tell you guys, the calls we get in City Hall about neglected animals and all the steps that we're trying to take takes a lot of our time.
So if we do this, do we have both options?
So how it works, I was going to explain that. So it does take 45 minutes an hour for them to come out.
Yeah.
But if it's something that, say it's an aggressive dog that's chasing people, we're absolutely going to be there to hold the dog for them to come. The time,
You're the mediator between them and us.
yes, because we'll still go out there, but what's nice, even barking dogs, we'll still go out there. But it's nice because we can, instead of us doing the whole investigation and the report, they come out and take it. Because the time, I guess, I don't know, black better, the time suck there is us doing the reports and doing the follow-up and doing the citations. And what's nice about this, it hands it off to the Humane Society to do all that.
So by doing this, we're saving officer time
Correct.
more
Absolutely.
than citizen hassle. We're paying half an officer to have you not have to have an officer on it.
Correct.
It's a savings. At this point, it's a savings.
I think it's a
It
saving.
used to not be, in my opinion.
In the past, you're absolutely right. But we're to a point right now, in my opinion, that we need to have this because it deals with more, right? It's more than just dogs and cats. They deal with
Cows.
cows. They deal
Stars.
with prohibited or inherently dangerous mammals or reptiles. People that bring that stuff into their homes. We got people moving here from all over the country, guys. It's as simple as that. I mean, what's it going to take for someone to drop a gator in our pond?
Rabid turtle.
Well, and when you speak of turtles, we get about 1 or 2 turtles a year that get called in and we got to figure out what to do with them. And I don't know I know that in this region they have painted turtles, but I didn't know that even existed, but I guess they're called painted turtles. But these turtles, they look like snapping turtles. They'll take a finger off. And so we do have, every once in a while, we do get some big turtles. We got to figure out where to put them.
You know, the dead animal service on there. I had to smile when I saw that because I think my wife called in a dead animal and asked Ryan to come pick it up, and he never did. And she hasn't forgotten. And the thing disintegrated, right? So
It's just, it is
Yeah.
in the past, you're absolutely right. It wasn't a necessity, but with the size of our city and with the calls that our police are getting, with the calls we're getting at City Hall, with the things that we're dealing with, it's making it very difficult to handle this situation right now in our community.
So even though we're spending 80,000, it's a cost savings of 100,000.
It could be very easily, yeah.
Let's leave it
On,
in.
on, P-
Let's
on-
leave it in.
on their
Let's leave it
time
in.
and staff time on dealing with this.
It's time.
It's up to you guys to decide if you want to go that route or not, but
Do we know what other cities do?
yep. It says right there at the top of
Oh,
this
it
right
does?
here.
Sorry.
We're the only one
That,
that.
yep, we're the only ones that don't do it. The CUNA has their own kennel and system there. We're the only ones that do it in Ada County in this manner, where we just take it to the vet.
I think
So-
CUNA has Humane Society, but Garden City has their own.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, that's what I meant. Garden City has their own kennel. They take they trap the dogs, they take them to the kennel, and then they'll run them out there to the facility on their own.
Yeah, this is. Speaking of micro.
Right. Yeah. Did that answer your question, Miss Jennifer? I
And
can't
it's
tell you what
only
came-
Tuesday, but I've had 3 barking
Yeah, I
dog
was looking
calls
at-
this week already. And the cats are all week long. Between the
Yeah.
emails on the cats, they're constant all week. So, and that's just Tuesday. That's just pretty typical every week to get 3 or 4 barking dog complaints that are different, and the cats are just constant all week long. And there's nothing that we can do in the city about cats. Not much that the deputies and Zach can do when they show up, because they're busy 2 hours later at a barking dog either. So it would be huge to have some help.
I would vote leave it in.
serious question. You know, we've been pretty lucky Heron Star to not have the geese move into our parks. This year, we have a family of geese down at the former dog park. And they're going
at West Point?
at West Point. They're going to come back every year and make new ones. Does this contract help with that? Can we have wildlife relocation?
It does not help with wildlife relocation. That's a fishing
Now I know
game.
what I need to do.
It's a fishing game thing, or we just open a hunting season in our parks. Well, here's the deal. The serious part of that is hunting season, the geese are smart. They know where to go, where they're not getting shot, right? And geese overpopulated. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, Boise deals with this like crazy down there in their parks, right? That they're having all the goose poo issues and stuff like that, right? This is something we could talk to Fish and Game on ways for them to get rid of them, or do we haze them? Do we do different things during the time season to try to push them out? Right? We don't want to do it during breeding season. I mean, everybody looks forward to seeing the goslings and the ducklings around. You're right. It's the beginning of
That's
the
where the
problem.
problem comes from. So,
But once they lay their eggs, there's nothing you can do about that at that time.
well, they're about ready to fly.
We're getting ready to fly. Yeah.
To that point, whoa, that's loud. If they start coming into our new park that we're developing with, it's got the boat dock and everything, geese can be one of the big contributors to E. coli that may end up shutting swimming down. And just so the council is aware,
So do ducks.
geese, ducks,
It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
It's any fowl. It
Yep.
could be anything out.
So do
We're
dogs.
testing that.
well, that's the point I'm trying to get to, is we are now testing the water quality of those parks twice a week. So if we have a breakout, we can notify the public that, and DEQ is helping us with that monitoring of the E. coli in our parks.
Yeah, and just to go back to your thing, we just have to work a Fish and Game to see what options we have to remove those geese on there. It won't happen with the Humane Society on that. Yeah. Okay. Let me see where we were at on here. So we have on item 176, Ryan, if we go up a little bit there, we do have the safe route to Star Middle School. It's about a $600,000 project. This is going to come out of general funds with a $250,000 grant award. So it's going to cost us about $350 to get that safe route to the school completed over there out of our pocket. And then we're looking at the downtown Star parking plan. If we get that grant, the goal is to add about 100,000, which may change that a little bit. May go up based on what happens with that.
Mayor Chadwick.
Yep.
So we did add an RFP. The council approved that RFP for a pathway master plan. It still hasn't gone out. Is it going to go out this year?
I don't know. I need to know what's going on with that. That was a question I was going to ask this week, so I'll find out and I'll tell you.
Okay.
Because if not, we have to put it in
We
the
need to
budget.
put it in here if it's not.
So we'll find out. Then we go down to Bob's stuff on here. What do we got here? So we're going to do a big seal coat project at Hunters Creek Park. Again, it's due this year. That's why that cost went up to 20,000 from 2,500. We are looking at irrigation maintenance repair at 960 Main over in that grass area to include a Cannon irrigation system on that.
If you go up a little bit on the wood, the up wood surface and
Yeah, that wood surface repair is the, it's like our wood fencing that we have around, about seal coating that, and the wood that we have around the, in the Blake Park gazebo stuff that we have there.
yeah.
It's to maintain all the wood that we have.
Would that be able to cover and dip into the maintenance of the
Yes.
the shack?
Treehouse.
So yeah,
The treehouse you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have 1 year already.
we have 1 year already, but
Yeah.
just so that it's
Absolutely. In the future, that could take
Yeah.
care of that as well.
just so that it's in the cupboard.
Yep.
Thank you.
Porta potties is about $7,000 for all the facilities that we utilize porta restrooms in. Fuel has gone up and we've added vehicles for our parks as well. The park inventory software, they got their software in place, so we don't need that line item anymore. Flag repair maintenance is getting a little bit more money. We're gonna have to start replacing a couple flags of the big flags. They're about $1,000 each.
Vandalism repair. You want to get that into the Keebler House? Do you want to have that taken care of?
We are, you mean fixing that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. So I think we have a detective on that too, trying to locate we got pictures of who did it.
Okay.
Who
I
done
mean,
it.
just, do you want them to fix it while they're?
Oh, yes.
Doing it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Playground repair maintenance, we increased that since we added that whole new playground on there in case we have to do some maintenance on that. Trees and shrubs the same. Landfill fees, we do haul off quite a bit of material to the landfills. The gravel for the trail at Hunters Creek, we removed that line item because that is a paved trail now. It's not a gravel trail anymore over at Hunters Creek. Wood bark, we have moved to a permabark style material for almost all of our park areas except for around their fountain. So that number is going to go down on there. We do not have any more playground bark. Playground, did I say that right? Playground bark, because we put that rubberized material this last year in and on all of our playgrounds. So that's all covered there. We won't be doing that anymore. The gravel for the river walk and the shop, there's really no more need for the gravel because we utilize the what do you call it, from the millings from this Highway 44 project and put down in the actually both the maintenance shop parking area and down there at the Riverwalk parking area, and even down our parking area into the river house on that. There's no more ARPA funds to use that come in. We've utilized those funds, which is great. We utilized them last year. If you remember, we helped purchase a ladder truck for our community, and did the police remodel and then the rec center area at the same time. Yes, sir.
After all said and done, we're down almost $2 million, $1.3 million from last year's budget.
Yeah. Well, we got
We
got to
have the
add
police number added.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be down just over $1 million over last year's budget.
Do you want me to put that over there at all, or you want to just sit tight till we get a number from the sheriff's office? Stick it in there.
Just put it as a filler. Yeah. 838. So overall, we're down. We're not increasing people's property taxes at all. It's all 8%. It's all off of new construction. The interesting thing this year on property taxes is going to be the several areas of the city actually went down in value on housing value. I know you're not one of them, but there's other areas. For instance, my area went down $100,000, which blew me away. I don't know why. But then the commercial, you picked it up for me. The commercial side of it went up, believe it or not. And we've got, I think I told you guys we had 270,000. We have almost 500,000. We'll have almost 500,000 square feet of new commercial here in the city here within the next year total, which is awesome, which helps offset that a little bit too. So, okay. Any questions on that? So we'll get this all updated out to everybody to look at it again. The reason we don't have account numbers on the side, because the way Jacob's putting it in Black Mountain, it doesn't coincide at all with that. So we took those completely out off there because it'll get filled in with him on Black Mountain. And then on August 1st is our budget hearing. It has to be published ahead of time. If we need to, 15 days ahead of time. Yeah. And if we need to have another meeting, we can set up another meeting if that needs to be after we get it all updated and sent out to everybody.
None of my pet projects made your list.
What's your project? I forgot.
A new faucet for the men's bathroom at City Hall.
No, that's, we got a $10,000 item for plumbing. So
Thank goodness.
sitting there.
You got all your IT toys.
Those are his IT toys.
What IT
Um,
toys? Oh,
The disc golf at Freedom Park, that's underway.
yeah. So the disc golf is already, we already have the equipment for it. I have a meeting on Thursday with Craig Rose and Corey, who designed it.
Yeah.
He has a new design for where it's supposed to go now and what's happening. And then we'll make some final adjustments to it and then it'll be built into that.
Nice. The one, and I'm not sure this is a pet project, but the one suggestion was a piano for the Riverwalk.
For the River House.
The River House.
Let's look at that and see what that looks like. And we can come back and ask the council for that. But we need to talk to Dana too about that as well with what's going on with the weddings and everything. No, that's not a good one.
Yeah. No, with the having weddings there and also having music type events there, something like that could be a real benefit for that particular property. So
And let's go down, you and I and Dana go down and look at that and talk about that because you're more familiar with those things than I could ever dream about. I'm just learning how to play guitar.
yeah, I've got
A real
so if we wanted to consider something like that, a line item for it'd be 15 to 20,000 for something that would last and be of good service there for a long time.
Okay. All right. Anything else from everybody else? You can ask something. I mean, there's only two of you here, so ask me. Yeah. It's a balancing number. No, it needs to change based on what our income is, what all final. That we haven't changed. I'll update it. It will automatically do it. Yeah. No, I get that. No. Right. She's correct. So once I get it all updated, I'll put the formula in there that you're talking about. That. Because I could do that too. I just never did that in the past. And then we should be good to go. Yep. Anything else? Dana? Everybody? Oh, yes, dang it. I forgot about it. So I'll circle back to your question. You just got to remind me because if I forgot about it in this short time frame, I'll forget about it again. Choose my words wisely.